caution at some point, it changes the game completely.
Yeah, but less so for this car, because it doesn't really matter what happens.
They've got flexibility.
So this car, the 75 and the 46, have got the most flexibility.
Exactly.
Should a safety car fall, or should it not fall and we remain green for the remaining 2 hours and 20 minutes? They're the three that can do it. If there's a safety car, it might bring more cars into the game.
Yep.
But ultimately, they've ticked a box now, getting to this point here.
Sheldon van der Linde rejoins in third position. The two cars ahead have yet to make their stop, but he's well ahead of Lucas Hart, who's heading up Mountain Straight now. So he's at least held on to the gap that he had before pitting.
The difference is he's a bunch of laps to the good on fuel, so certainly not going to be a cruise. Well, it will be a cruise at this point. It's not going to be. Let's have a listen.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I lifted it.
Massive. That's supercar spec fuel saving, where you lift at the king.
Yeah.
And you don't do that in a GT car unless you're on max fuel save. So
Pit stop time for Sheldon van der Linde.
what was it gone?
Has it come up yet?
He's gone through the first second.
Been and gone, so it's gone through the first sector.
So,
No, it was 80 seconds. They nailed it again.
Yeah.
It is.
Nailing it all day. So,
It's copy and paste for WRT all day.
so Stoltz went through, and we heard the fuel saving on that lap. He did a 2:03.89. So that is as fast as we've seen in any of the fuel saving mode of the race. So Rossi goes through at a 2:05.1. So don't forget those two cars 2 stops ago stopped under safety car, topped off the fuel, bought an extra couple of laps, and they continue to buy laps every stint, and they've gone deeper and deeper and deeper into the race.
Rossi's pulled back Lucas Stoltz a little bit as well. It's 12 seconds now between those two. It was up as high as 15.
There's lots of ebbing and flowing with traffic, but certainly on that last lap, Stoltz laid in a good one while still saving a whole heap of fuel.
Another fabulous run by Valentino Rossi, race car driver. Whatever else he's done in the past, he's a race car driver now.
I don't think you have to put a job description under Valentino Rossi. He can just get around as Valentino Rossi.
Valentino Rossi, awesome.
Yeah, legend.
Ledge.
Yes.
Ledge. Total ledge.
It's like how you've got 5-time written on yours.
No, I do not, Richard. That's production of your effort. Just want to listen. Maybe if we can stay aboard Rossi here as he heads down Conrod. Oh, a little bit of wheel spin as he got off Forest Elbow.
He's been struggling with that all week,
well,
hasn't
he said that in practice, didn't he? He said it that they needed to work on the drive traction, leaving the slow speed corners. And that looks to continue to be a small Achilles heel. Now, let's have a listen to this one. Well, very much the same as Lucas Stoltz. So the doctor has been a student and he's been learning, and he's learned what he needed to learn. So he too saving a heap of fuel. He's come to the lane. Stoltz did not come to the lane. So Stoltz has bought an extra lap. That could be critical.
That is. Oh, he's.
Oh no, he got the wall.
Yeah, I thought he'd gone a little bit too deep, and he's clipped the outside of the car on the right-hand side, on the inside of the pit wall. Now, has he done any damage? I don't think so.
It's pretty small, but did he go too fast over the pit line on entry?
That's the question.
He was busy saving the car. They look at that, how good is WRT. They just had a quick look at the front of the car there.
Lots to do in the Bathurst town with great galleries and museums as well. The Bathurst Regional Art Gallery is terrific. I'd love to have that still at home. I don't know what I'd do with it, but it'd look impressive, wouldn't it? Some great pubs as well in this part of the world. Terrific place to come and visit. Lots of natural wildlife. And of course, the greatest racetrack going around. And it is turning out an absolute perler today. In pit lane, stopping car number 46, Valentino Rossi, and he came into pit lane hot, really hot. Watch this. Bump onto the little lip. It's basically a gutter. Here it is. just a little nudge as he got the car, tried to stop and turn. The couple of question marks over that. Did he have it down to 40 kilometres an hour at the time? And is there any lingering damage as a result?
Sounded like he was on the pit lane speed limiter, but he has cracked the lip of the splitter on the right-hand front. They didn't feel the need to do anything with it, and they've sent the car, which has now been taken over by Raffaele Marciello. He's the leader in the pit lane.
And speaking of the Elf pit lane, in comes the 75 and just gets that car stopped in time. They got that extra lap in. Beautiful driving from Lucas Stoles. We'll get this back to Jules Gounon to finish off the race. You guys posed the question, what was the pit stop time for car 32, yes?
Yes.
Yep. 79.7. Now, there's a kicker. It does say in the rule book that there is, give or take 1 second, and you're allowed to potentially go inside that 1 second bracket 3 times during the race.
So that's a joker stop then. It's a knockout. Wow.
I just read the reg myself.
Yeah, I remember reading that in the regs myself. Go on, Rich, you've got it there.
4.25.2.1.4. The motor racing regulations pretty dry word. There will be a non-cumulative 1 second tolerance to the minimum pit stop time, which may be used 3 times during the race, which is actually quite a lot. Save you 3 seconds potentially, but so they'll take that, they'll wipe their brow, and they'll walk away.
Wow, that's reading the rule book. That is, they have been metronomically brilliant at 80.1, 80.2, 80.3. That's wow. I'm just going to say wow.
Now, by our numbers, the 32 car is inside the window to get home on 1 stop by about 2 minutes. It's that close. They're the margins we're talking about right now to get to the end of the race.
The 75 Express Mercedes just came in and made its penultimate pit stop. They did not do a driver change. Lucas Stoll stayed aboard. They offered him a very fresh water bottle. It's still glistening with condensation. And Lucas said, no, I'm all right. I'm ready to do this. So there will be one more stop from this team. And when they make that final stop, we would expect to see Jules Gounon put back behind the wheel.
Thank you, Shay. It was the same tactic in Porsche land because they've kept Chad Gubin. This is for position side by side, running up the hill. Pro Ferrari versus 75. Sun Energy 1 entry. Lucas Stoles and Daniel Serra. Serra fired up and on warm tyres for 3rd and 4th position. Lucas Stoles hanging on, and it's going to take him the lap to get this car back up to speed.
He did a really good job going up the hill there just to make sure that 75 Express was very, very wide.
Just to add to your point, Craillsy, about car 32, the Vanderlinde BMW being good to the tune of 2 minutes. That is 1 lap around Mount Panorama, and they'd want to make sure that 2 minutes falls on the right side of the control line. So I just wonder if they have enough of a buffer to make sure that they don't cross the control line a second before 5:43 p.m.
Yep. Oh, it won't be comfortable, will it?
No. No. 1.9 seconds between Sheldon van der Linde and Lucas R and Lucas Stoltz.
So the 75 car in this little sequence has done a nice job because, don't forget, they were behind the Ferrari and the Porsche in this sequence. So they've overcut these 2 cars. So now Stoltz, so there you go. There's a weight difference there.
Yeah.
That's the weight difference because Stoltz is chock full of fuel and the Ferrari's already burnt 4 or 5 laps of fuel off.
Here's Chan Gubin coming through as well in the number 91 Porsche, the gold and black machine.
I saw the Ferrari being chased by the Porsche coming out of the elbow and thought, I've seen this story before, just a couple of hours ago, just different players in the game now. Yeah, you're right, that's a good pickup because not only do they have a fuel economy advantage or a fuel fill advantage, they've now got truck position back on their side slightly.
Well, they had 2, they've lost 1.
Yeah.
So you can see Sarah not that close as they came off the elbow, but using the toe and the Mercedes being full of fuel, it's going to be lazy for the next 4 or 5 laps as it starts to lighten up. So just uses the toe nicely. Stoltz tried to move the car to the middle of the racetrack, but Sarah got there first. Nice job. A great exchange between those 2.
And that was indeed an Elf Oils slick pass. Made that look pretty easy, actually, but that's 9 laps difference in fuel.
Yeah,
that's 9 laps difference.
That's a chunk. And Rich Crail brought up the point earlier that potentially if you have to stop later, you have to put less fuel in the car, therefore the car's lighter. There's an example of why you want a light race car at the end of the race.
Yeah, weight is lap time. There's no way around that.
And particularly here at Mount Panorama, and even
haul it up
more
the hill.
so in a GT3 car.
Yeah.
You've got no idea how different the car is from light fuel to heavy fuel. It's a massive difference.
So imagine you're on your last stint, if you are a little bit out of sequence, and you've got brand new Pirellis and maybe half a tank.
It'll be
of fuel.
two-thirds of the tank.
Okay.
That you're not going to save half a tank over the rest, but that will be a difference. I mean, you just said it was 9 laps.
That was only 9 laps. Yeah.
So that's effectively what the difference will be the other way if it works to the 75 car later in the day.
And we still don't know, Rich. We still don't know.
We don't know for 6 cars.
Correct.
There are still 6 genuine contenders to win this race with just over 2 hours to go. I like this game. It's fun. Still plenty to play out. Getting ready round the board to Mayfair and Park Lane now. This is the big money stuff.
Yeah, who's got the hotels? That's the question. In fairness, Lucas Stoltz has done a pretty good job coming out on cold Pirellis to hold on to what he did. Had to give up 1 position.
Another interesting thing as well is while it's not a massive jump, the pace has just increased a little bit.
Yeah.
And all 3 litres last time round, now into 3s. And they were sort of low to mid 4s for a long time in that previous stint. So it just started to up the game slightly.
Well, the point is, because they've got to that effectively reverse window for the last stop. They know where that is. They can start the forecast. So then you can start, well, if I use X amount of fuel, that'll get me to this point for the last pit stop. So that's all they were doing for the last 2 or 3 stints, is just positioning themselves from fuel burn versus track position. And now they've got a much clearer understanding, if this remains green, where they all land for the last pit stop and how much fuel they need to get to that stop and from that stop to home.
It's fascinating.
It's chess. It is 12 hours of chess.
3D chess. Yeah, absolutely.
Much better for some open rules that allow the teams to do this and engage their creativity and use these.
BMW, particularly in terms of how long can you go on a tank of fuel, that's made their race.
Yeah, totally. And use the geniuses that all these race teams employ down in the garages to their advantage.
First and second on the same piece of tarmac, both on the front straight. They rumble past us in the Global Broadcast Centre just over to our left. And Lucas R is looking at the back now as he turns up Mountain Straight of the leader, who's going through traffic. Sheldon von der Linde ahead by 2.2 seconds at the Let's Split.
Richard Crail made a very good point about the pace starting to increase. The peak speed for the number 32 BMW in this race was on lap 20 at 2:03.30. Sheldon van der Linde on the last lap, lap 244 at 2:03.59.
Grant Denyer, this race has thrown everything at the Wall Racing Lamborghini. It looked really good, it looked really bad. Now it's looking like it may be okay going. I'm not going to jinx anything, but how you feeling after that terrific drive?
Hey, it was really cool. To still be punching out PBs at this stage of my life and career is a good feeling. It's been wild out there. There's been some big tear-ups. So, look, through attrition, we're sort of moving forward. We lost a little bit since qualifying. We're, for whatever reason, about 6 kilometres down in a straight line on last year. So we're sort of scratching our heads as to why. So that's making it a bit harder for everyone. But I love this place, man. I love these cars. I love you. I love Craillsy. I love John. I even love Garth Sander, and he's normally sort of too tall for my type. But I love everything about this. It's good.
What is it about driving a race car around here that just brings you so much happiness?
I don't know. It's the happiest you'll ever feel. Don't tell my wife or my children, but I don't know. It's just, there's something about being on that ragged edge, you know, walking a toe up to the line, and you just feel so alive when you drive around this mountain in such exotic machinery with such high commitment. And there's no greater joy in life, to be honest. I don't know how long I'll be doing this for, but I cherish every lap like it's the last, because it makes me feel so good inside it. It really fills my cup up. It's pretty cool to be doing this.
Well, nothing better to fill your cup than maybe a little bit of champagne to add to that as well. Standing on the top step of the podium, you've done it before. What is that love of wanting to get back there?
Well, there's that satisfaction of having a job and done a job and not stuffed it up, right? You know, look at some of the great names that have had accidents today. You know, Craig Lowndes, you know, threw it into the wall, and to be still charging around, you know, that's a bit of an honour. There's pride in that, and it's great reward for, you know, all these boys and girls who work in this garage tirelessly since 4 a.m. this morning, and you know, in the weeks leading up to this. So to sort of share that moment with them is a pretty special feeling, you know. So we as drivers get that sensation behind the wheel, but we all kind of share in the joy afterwards with a job well done. You know, it's a remarkable, rare, and wonderful feeling when it does happen. So you got to cherish those moments. As I get older, you know, I kind of like to, you know, enjoy the spoils when it does work out.
Well, on behalf of everyone in the truck and in the booth and in the pit lane, we love you too, Grant.
You guys are doing a mega job. I could listen to your voices all day, every day. You love this race as much as I do, and that's obvious. So on behalf of Australia, thank you.
And hi to Grant's wife and kids back at home.
Nice work, Shay. Yeah, you got to love Grant. Just a quick update on a couple of cars that pitted a little bit earlier. The 911 Porsche, which has Matt Campbell ready to get back in it, and Chaz Mostert ready to get back in car 26. Those two cars were inside 1 minute away from being able to double stint Chaz and Matt Campbell to the end of the race. They just had one fewer laps of fuel in the tank to be able to get those guys a double home, but thankfully they had pretty good guys in the shed ready to fill that last single stint.
That's a really good point, Chad makes, that you have to line so many things up when it comes to strategy. We've been talking so much about fuel burn and fuel use and where does that land you for how many pit stops you have left. You also have to line up your minimum and maximum driving time. Remember, it was no more than 2.5 hours continual driving time for any one driver. So to come up 1 minute short on those 2.5 hours to allow Matt Campbell and Chaz Mostert to double would really, really burn. Because you just, that last stop, you don't know if there's going to be a mistake with the driver change that might hold you up. You don't want that deep in the race.
Yes, you could hear the cogs whirring back.
I can hear the asterisks in your...
Yes, but as you said, you're not giving it everything until the last stop. You could fumble a seatbelt, you could sit on your belt or whatever. And in fairness, the guys that are in there now are not rabbits, are they? It's not like they were sticking me in.
No, it's not about the lap time that the driver in the car is going to do right now. It's about the potential for an error in the last pit stop. You can recover from an error in the pit stop in the first hour. It's a whole lot harder to recover from a mistake in the pit stop in the last hour.
I get that.
Here's our leader, Sheldon van der Linde, coming up on the 91 Porsche of Yasser Shaheen. He tries to go up the inside at McPhillamy, and it's hard to do it there. Now Shaheen holds the inside line and allows van der Linde around the outside. So good patience from van der Linde, and well done from Shaheen.
Yasser was on a bit of a yellow card, don't forget. He'd had the radio call, or at least the team had, from James Taylor earlier in the race. Van der Linde pulled out to nearly 4 seconds. It was 1.8 when he came out of the pits between himself and Lucas R. BMW, Mercedes, Ferrari, Mercedes, Porsche, BMW and Ferrari in the top 7. And the top 6, by the way, still only separated with some differences in the fuel run strategies. 33 seconds between those top 6 and into the pit lane for Yasser. That'll be his day done.
Thought so. It'd be one of the... Just get through the chicane, does Yasser, but one of the Porsche pros that'll climb aboard that one. Oh, Shearing. There you go, so on the helmet.
Well, yeah, driver number 4. Come in, driver number 4. Driver number 4. That must feel like it's 1,000,000 miles at 40 kilometres an hour, Grant.
Even as you're the driver waiting for your car to get there, it's like, come on, man, hurry up. So Yasser overshot, but because the Porsche has the refueler in the front, it doesn't matter. You still get the refueling rig on. So for about 300 to 400 mil over his marks.
It's a scrubbed set of tyres, rodent set of tyres. Pirelli's going on to that Porsche.
Daniel Serra in the number 26 Arise Racing Ferrari coming up on Brendan Leach, who currently leads silver class in the Wall Racing Lamborghini, and that's allowing Lucas Stoltz to range back up to the rear of the Ferrari. Now that Stoltz has had the opportunity to burn a little bit of fuel out of that Mercedes, that car's coming to life again, and if a little bit of traffic's going to hold up Serra's progress, then Stoltz will like that.
He's going to get a second, maybe more, back from this Contender to go across Skyline. Daniel Serra not doing anything too dangerous here. Battle for third position. The Ferrari, number 26 of Daniel Serra, just coming out the BMW M elbow and heading down Conrod Straight, and he is being closed in on by Lucas Stoltz.
To car 93, you're being given blue flags.
And there again, race control, just reminding the drivers at this stage with just under 2 hours to go of their responsibilities to their fellow competitors.
An example of what Grant Daniel was saying about the Lambo being down on straight line speed. That was way too easy for the Ferrari to blow past, even though they were getting blue flags. Just drove past in a straight line. Grant Daniel in love with everybody and the world at the moment at Mount Panorama, as you would be.
Inside the last 2 hours, so something has just changed, and that is if we do get a BMW M safety car, no more wave bikes. So what you've got in laps now is what you're going to do. If you're going to get one back, you've got to race it back, and that's going to be really tough.
The good news about that is that any car that was going to win the race is on the lead lap anyway. So we don't need to worry about that anymore.
Absolutely good point. There's some inter-class battles that have made any difference to? No, just this lap between them.
The wave by only applies to the cars on the lead lap, as in you don't get a lap back on your class.
Yeah.
Less than 2 hours remain. We're in sprint racing territory now.
Yep.
And this hugely successful young South African driver, Sheldon van der Linde, he's 25 years of age. Pole position here last year. Hugely successful career for BMW as a factory-backed driver. So burst out of the shadow, really, of his teammate Kelvin van der Linde, who, especially in this part of the world, created all the headlines.
Yeah.
But both boys have been a product of the South African motorsport system through the VW Polo Cup over there and South African domestic racing, and then moving up to Germany to take on the big boys. And they have both been spectacular at it as well.
2 hours to go, 1 and a bit pit stops for some, and I say that, 1 for others. This is not the time, Richard Craill, to lose concentration. Anything now, any seconds now are going to be hard to get back. So, I know it sounds daft, but it's almost like we've had a 10-hour race to set us up for a 2-hour race, because that's kind of how it's worked out.
And there's similarities, John, as well, as to this race playing out the way the 2023 race did are quite remarkable in that we had quite a truncated start to that race with lots of interruptions, lots of safety car.
Don't say what you're going to say.
No, I got to say it, because we had this long green flag run at the end of that race. The history records it.
Which made the race.
4 hours and 50 minutes of green flag running. We ended up with the top 3 cars covered by 1.4 seconds at the end. So this has a lot of similarities about the way that's playing out, with the added bonus of this fuel economy question mark, in that we don't know if any of these top 6 can make it home on one more fuel stop.
Some are closer than others, a lot closer.
Some are a lot closer. Some,
including the leader,
could be marginally in the window to do it without running out of fuel. Some of them right now can't do it.
Yeah.
And that's what is so enjoyable about this race and the way it's playing out. And at some point, they're going to have to push the go button too, and
pull the pin.
hard button.
Yeah, somebody's going to have to pull the pin.
Correct. And he who pulls the pin first could be the one that wins it, or they could run out of fuel on Conrad on the final lap.
So, yes, and it is uphill. That it's not if you can get to the spares box walk over bridge. You can probably call stint from there, but not much before it. I just want to throw something in here. WRT have got 2 cars in this. So do you split and give one of the drivers, either Sheldon van der Linde or Raffaele Marcello, do you give them the go command? They're both in the 3s at the moment as the Hallmark car comes back out from its box after remedial work.
Risky. Right now, both of them
Oh, that's good.
this is going in the garage. It's been a really tough day for Melbourne Performance Centre and their pair of Audis. Car 183, which was the Ricardo Feller, Liam Talbot, Brock Feeney car, were really spectacular all the way throughout the weekend and fast early in the race, and some really wild moves from Ricky Feller early in the game. Unfortunately, they were out with a failure in the left front that saw them buried in the chase and well out of the race after 164 laps. 17 cars still circulating out of the 22 that started. So despite the dramas, attrition rate so far has been very mild indeed.
Right, we've been selling it all day, fellas in the commentary box. I've got Shay back here in the Pirelli pit bunker. It is time. Boxing gloves on. We need to settle this, Shay. We've picked our 5. First, let's refresh the viewers at home who may be just flicking in the race on the last couple hours, who we've picked.
As for the greatest of all time in the GT3 era in the Bathurst 12-hour, my nomination was Mauro Engel, a 2-time pole winner, fastest lap ever set of the mountain.
Yep, Craillsy went with Matt Campbell. Not a bad bet on any given day. Nope. John's nomination, he went for a local guy.
Yeah, Craig Lowndes, a guy who's a hero to many, myself included.
You got to interview him today.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good shout from Garth Tander. Jules Gounon, he's won a bunch.
Yeah.
That's fair. I got the last nomination, and so I went Christopher Mies. So, gentlemen in the commentary box, are you ready to settle this?
Oh, we don't need to, Mike. Jules Gounod's the man.
Well, it's clearly Matt Campbell.
It's Craig Lowndes, obviously.
All
Who
right,
else could it be?
Unfortunately, I think Lowndesy blotted the copybook this morning, so that's making it harder for you today, John.
Well,
Just makes him human, that's all.
I would like to put forth that because of Garth Tander's diligent homework, the amount of research that he did to prepare for it, I would like to back his nomination to go further up this chart.
I've got one.
Because
Thank you,
believe
Shay.
that Jules Gounon is further up the chart with 3 wins, 4 podiums, than, say, my nomination, Mauro, with still 0, unfortunately. Mauro will get a win eventually.
All right, 5-1. Let's get this done with. Mies or Lowndes? What do you reckon, guys?
I think the impact Chris Mies had on the race in the early stages, this Gun Young International coming to Australia. With all the love in the world for Lowndesy, I reckon Measy goes in front.
You grab Lowndesy, I'll grab Mies. There we go. We're happy with that.
He's just thrown his mate under the bus. Lowndesy works with us in broadcast for the rest of the year, and most directly with one R. Crail, and he's just relocated him to P5.
I'm sad about today. I had high hopes on them getting a result.
So did I, yeah.
All right, P3, who's the last step on the podium?
Mauro Engel.
Are we happy with that?
Yeah.
That was your pick?
I think we found our list.
Well, I don't know, because this is where I think we get complicated, everybody. Shay, how does that look to you?
Who's won more races out of those 2?
Well,
If we include classes, it's Matty. If we include overall, it's Jules.
it's a fair argument.
Impact on career.
Hang on, but we don't include classes. This is greatest of GT3
I think
era.
he
That's
won his
fair.
class in a GT3 race,
He
Matt
did.
Campbell as well.
He
Yeah,
won it in
but-
Pro-Am driving
and-
with 1P long, and that kind of vaulted him onto Porsche's map.
That, you make a very good point, Shay. Thank you for agreeing with that, having ditched me just earlier.
I'm backing both of you at this point.
You're on the fence.
Shay's on the
Each way
fence
bet.
here heavily.
Each way bet.
Heavily.
I would say impact on career. Matt's 2019 win here elevated him to the stratosphere of professional sports car drivers.
No, his win at Le Mans in 2018 elevated him.
Which side of the fence are you on, Shay?
We need to settle this.
Gounon, it's the way he goes about it, the way he executes the race. He's done it again today. He's played them into the game from a strategy point of view.
I come from the land of diplomacy, right? Can we call it a tie?
No.
You can share the gold medal. It's been done in the high jump.
Like that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Jill,
That's a very nice blending in their fire suits.
yeah.
Very good.
It's a tie, but put Gounon to the left-hand side of it. I've decided, though,
Like that?
I've decided...
so that we can see more of Gounon than Matty.
I feel bad about
There we
chucking...
go.
Oh, boy.
I feel
gonna take
really...
a while.
I feel bad about chucking my mate under the bridge.
Oh, that's very good.
But there's no surprise that Craill's pushing a Porsche.
I want to bump Lounsey up, please.
Now his phone's going hot. That's why his phone's lit up.
It's going to cost me a donation to the Prostate Cancer Foundation.
Fair.
Yeah, it certainly is.
Fair.
Just remember, Mr. Lowndes, just remember who nominated you, hey?
Please move Lowndes up one, Shay, at your end, please, and then I'll be happy.
I think the only fair way to settle this is by seeing which of these two guys finishes higher today in this race. That's going to settle it.
Do you agree with that, guy?
I think that's fair. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I'll shake your hand
Should
because
we go tell them
the
that?
75's in front of the 911 at the moment, and they're better on fuel. What it does show, though, is we have got elite drivers that come and do this race.
And there's 3 or 4 other drivers that we could have put into that top 5. You know, the fans like Chio, we've got SVG who's looking in. Chaz Mostert didn't make that. I mean, that's how good this form of racing has been over the last few years. That is the quality.
I've just been delivered the dissertation that Garth has put on, and I'm just off for a little second to go and make a donation to the Prostate Cancer Foundation of Australia for my mate Lowndes.
If you see Lowndes out there, you better run, mate. Seriously.
Unbelievable. We're tracking one of the stories of the race is the car that is in 17th position at the moment, and that is the Pro-Am number 44 Audi that was unfortunately caught up in somebody else's accident this morning, the Valmont Racing machine. That car still running. It's many laps down, but I love their devotion to endurance racing. The pop art colour on that car. And you know what? Since they put that new corner on that car, that right corner, yeah, all right, the bodywork looks a bit scabby at the moment, but that car has run and run and run. Fair play to that team.
A lot of endurance events have like a spirit of type award. And that car today, they were taken out of the race effectively through no fault of their own, minding their own business, getting involved in someone else's accident. The team went to work, rebuilt the car. If that's not the Spirit of Bathurst award for the day, I don't know what is.
I don't want to have another argument with you, Garth, but if that KTM makes it to finish, having watched they've been through the last 3 or 4 years.
That's a lifetime achievement award for the KTM.
That goes into cult status type thing. You know what we were talking about with Chio and all the rest of it.
Now, Adam Christodoulou going back into the box in the battle between themselves and the remaining McLaren. 3 laps to the good, the number 24 car, with, at the moment, behind the wheel, that's Jake Santolucia behind the wheel of the McLaren, and Adam Christodoulou. It has not been an easy run for the defending champion team in GT4.
I agree with you on the Valmont car. Like, they are so fiercely passionate, those two blokes. They're long-term mates. They've raced each other, and they decided they didn't like racing each other wheel to wheel, and like having 2 cars.
Really?
So they wanted to go, well, I'd much rather than one win and one doesn't, link up and join forces and race together.
That's very cool,
isn't it?
That's a warm, fuzzy story as well. I like. Then I like that even better. Leading the Invitational class at the moment, Glenwood in the GT2 Crossport. This is the 5-cylinder version. It's an Audi straight 5. So you're thinking Audi Quattro, old style offbeat rumble of that car. Built for the SRO GT2 regulations, and has turned into a very decent racing car. Had no luck here down through the years. They've turned that one around as well, changed the belts, the drive belt on that, without having to take the engine out. And I want you all on your feet when that car gets to the end of the race. Tracking some of the cars that have had problems, the Volante Rossa Aston Martin is back out on the track. Number 14 car had problems early on, and Jamie Day is back behind the wheel of that car. Dropped some laps in the silver class, but running in 15th. in the overall. Meantime, at the front of the field, Sheldon von der Linde down at the BMW M elbow. And heading down Conrod Straight in the car that perfectly matches the livery on the wall at that spot on the track. And he has stretched to 7.3 seconds over Lucas Hart with the number 77. That's the Team Craft Bamboo Racing. Do we glean anything from that, Garth Tander, that he's been able to put that time in and start running faster times? He was running high threes for quite a while and put that gap into Lucas, and now he's holding on to it and slightly extending it.
Like I said earlier, now that they can project forward and know where their last stop is going to land, they can now figure out how much fuel they need to burn to get to that last stop. So, no, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, Sheldon van der Linde has been the fastest of the three drivers all day in the 32 BMW. And even when they were fuel saving early in the day with Augusto Farfus driving the car, as soon as Sheldon got in the car, it was hammered down and away he went.
Yeah.
So I think he's got lap speed anyway, regardless of whether they're saving fuel or not. Really, you'd just be managing the numbers right now, still with an hour and 44 to go. They're in the box seat because they've got more fuel flexibility than the 77 Craft Bamboo car anyway.
Yeah. Daniel Serra dropped into the threes last time around in third. Lucas Stoltz in fourth. And Chan Guvin also dropping into the threes. Just barely, but that tells you that we're starting to just pick it up again here as we get inside the last hour and 3/4 of what has been a captivating 2025. Meguiar's Bathurst 12 hours. Craillsy, you're looking perturbed.
No, not at all.
You sure?
Not at all. No, you're right. This has been incredibly captivating. And I don't know, there's another twist in this to play out that hasn't been thrown at us yet.
Absolutely a sting in the tail.
Yeah.
Somewhere, we've all been coming to Bathurst long enough to know that something, somewhere, somehow, will go down.
Well, it's not going to be weather, is it? It's clear blue skies all day today. Track temperature still ramping up. Should be about the hottest that we get it now. It was forecast at 31 Celsius. And we're at 4 o'clock, which is where the Meteo said it would be the hottest of the day.
Just tipped over 30 degrees C locally, so bang on. And stepped outside momentarily, and it is quite warm, and the breeze is quite warm as well. Coming across from the east, so it's blowing up pit straight. It's a tailwind up pit straight, headwind across the top.
Yeah, that has picked up, you're right.
That's sort of been the trend over the last couple of days, hasn't it? That
You call that
the
a fast
wind comes up, and it is the fast direction. when you're sitting in the garage with your helmet on, you look out and go, if the wind's going that way, that means the track's fast, and you've got more downforce across the top of the mountain.
How we hear that in Formula One all the time. Oh, there's been a change of direction and somebody slides off wind direction. Slide. How sensitive is a GT3 car?
Yeah, considerably, and more so down Conrod Straight. You've got to be careful of where the wind is and for gusts.
Very pleased to say an event attendance of 51,372 across the 3 days. Record number of campgrounds. It's the second largest attendance in event history for the Meguiar's Bathurst 12 hour. So well done to everyone for turning out. Record number of campsites sold, over 2,800 sites filled for the weekend. And if you've been in the city of Bathurst any night of the race week, it has been jam-packed, and well done, ladies and gentlemen. Outstanding effort. So that's a fantastic result. 51,372 people attending the 3 days of the Meguiar's Bathurst 12 hour, and 51,372 people sitting on the edge of the seats to see which way it's going to play out.
It's not just that number, Craillsy. It's the pure atmosphere. You talked about it downtown Friday. There was almost like a festival atmosphere around the many restaurants, bars, etc. And we sampled a little bit with the shakedown guys and had a really great time. Getting back home in plenty of time to get some good shut-eye, of course. But it's been the same walking around the grounds, whether I was over in Harris Park earlier on in the week or walking through the paddock. And it's an extremely knowledgeable audience that we have here on the grounds, and from the socials as well at hashtag B12HR, also tuned in around the world.
So, I'd like to put a full stop on a couple of things if we can. Earlier today, we saw a fairly substantial incident at the top of Mount Panorama for Stephen Grove. So the number 4 Grove hire car. And there was contact with the Kenny Habul 75 entry. It was a racing incident, so no penalties were applied. But it was a scary impact. So Grove Racing has released a statement on Stephen. So he was taken to Orange Hospital for further scans. Initial tests have revealed some damage to his back. However, until subsequent tests and after consultation with the Westmead Hospital in Sydney have taken place, they're not sure of the full extent of the injuries. However, Stephen is in very good spirits and looks forward to getting to the track again soon. And the team wanted to thank all the fans and all the supporters for their outpouring of support since that accident this morning. So just good to hear that Stephen's in good spirits, and he will go to Westmead in Sydney for some further scans on his back moving forward. But that's good to know. He's in good hands and will be looked after.
Sending all of our best wishes and thoughts as well, along with, I'm sure, everybody watching and listening.
Yeah, absolutely, John. So, it's good to hear. So following and just tracking Daniel Serra and Lucas Stoltz across the top of the mountain, and you can hear Ange and Guven in the Porsche not far behind. Very distinctive sound of that flat 6 Porsche. Currently these 3, 3rd, 4th and 5th. Stoltz certainly in the best position when it comes to fuel availability to get to the last stop. But Serra with track position. But this trio some 18 seconds behind the leader. So they'll need something. We'll need that sting in the tail to get them in the game with 1 hour and 40 minutes left in this one.
We are so far through this race, and I am looking, literally I am looking at lap times, lap after lap after lap. I don't think anybody's in cruise mode. I don't think anybody's really pulled the pin yet and let the horses run.
I think it's finer than lap by lap. It's almost got to the point where it's sector
by sector. Yeah.
And certainly, as there is less traffic or less lap traffic to pollute the lap time as the race goes on, that is something that I've noticed that more and more of the cars, with the wind that we just spoke about, a lot more debris in the front grille of a lot of the race cars. So you can see all the leaves and rubbish in the front of the Absolute Racing Porsche as it makes its way up Mountain Straight.
We've been talking about 1 pit stop as opposed to 1.5 pit stops, but it has to be 2 pit stops. As soon as you put the fuel probe on, it's an 80-second mandatory stop. Stephen Walton saying, what does that cost you? Well, it's 80 seconds from pit in to pit out, but there's a bit of slowing down and speeding up as well. So what do we reckon that is? What would you need to have to get to either hold on, or how much time are you going to have to pull back with a lighter car, perhaps? It's an unknown. It's a piece of string, isn't it?
It is.
Right.
But
sorry, Stephen, can't give you an answer.
You don't do it. I don't think you do it. You can't make up another fuel stop to get to the end at an 80 seconds.
Not 80 seconds.
But,
great. Brake, sorry, you're right, John. So they're changing rotor, caliper and pads all at once. We've got Shay with more from Elf Pit Lane.
One of the coolest things that I've actually seen in preparation for this brake change is that the Ferrari team has ovens in the garage for these brake rotors. They turn them up to 100 degrees C before pulling them out to do this brake change. So not only are the pads and rotors extra hot, the crews are going to be careful with the ones coming off, but the ones going on. This is a different strategy for the Ferrari team, and it should help Rivera get back out on track with his brakes up to temperature even faster, because the brakes are already at an extremely elevated temperature.
And that is the Pro-Am leader, gentlemen and ladies, with Rivera coming in from well inside the top 10, and Maurice Schuring is only a couple of laps behind here and is now eating into the lead of the number 36 Ferrari 296 on pit lane.
I don't feel like this brake change, and there's the Arise Racing Garage, where you can see you actually have to preheat all the brakes before they go on the car, because the rotor hats you can see in the middle of the brake rotor that locates on the drive pegs, that's all interference fit. So if you have a cold brake hat and a hot hub, the brake hat won't go on, so you actually have to heat it up before you put it on the car. But this deep into the race, I don't think that's absolutely not a planned brake change.
And they haven't got the wheel located properly either, so is there something wrong behind that? That's the worry.
Absolutely.
Oh, well done. No panic. Wait for everybody to get back across the line, fire up the V6, put a bit of heat into the Pirellis. Thank you, guys. Your service has been completed with pride and safety by your Ferrari team.
So it's going to be 2.5 minutes lost, so they'll lose one of the laps they had over the bend Porsche with Marcus Schuring behind the wheel.
Having a good look at those discs that have come off.
Looking at wear, because this is more so about the 26 car. What does the wear look like on there? So it's not the pads. The pads are okay. They would have done another hour and a half. So we need to have a good look at the rotor, and you can see those grooves in the rotor. That's what cleans the pad material off and gives it bite. And
a bit of pinning on that.
Yeah, well, that's standard. Don't forget 800-900 degrees, so there is that. They actually look like they're not too bad. There's certainly no significant. You can usually tell those grooves become quite shallow the more that you wear the brake rotor. So that's not too bad. So that either is a precautionary tale to have a look to understand their brake wear for the 26 car.
Correct.
Because they had those 2 laps over their following Pro-Am car with the 36.
You can get really weird things happening, like a stone getting caught in there or something like that, but that one that we saw there, that wasn't a problem.
That looked fine to me. So I think that's precautionary and getting an understanding of the brake wear. Don't forget, Ferrari haven't been here for a long time.
And not with this car.
That's Rise Racing's first Bathurst 12-hour. So it's actually pretty smart play when you think about it. It's a free brake change, and you get to understand the data to help your lead car.
Yeah, nice to have a reference point, isn't it? So our team down in the Pirelli pit bunker have been crunching numbers and there's smoke pouring off the abacus and it's all pretty busy, but the way it's looking at the moment, the 2 BMWs are in good shape and so too is car 75 to do this on one more stop. Everyone else right now does not have enough to get to the end on one more pit stop. They're going to be about 15 minutes short.
Including Kraft Bamboo in second?
Correct, 77, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're 1 or 2 laps to the good compared to the Ferrari, for example, and the Porsche, but they're not in the BMW realm at the moment.
Okay. So you're calling it now for the top 3?
Oh, no. That's way brave.
Wow.
Calling it.
90 minutes from the finish, are you kidding?
Oh, I tried.
You're hoping to catch me off guard there, or?
Just throw the little top spinner up there, see if you went after
it. No chance. No chance, because you just don't know at this place. There are so many variables.
Hello to Chris Suku as the UK starts coming back from possibly a couple of snoozes in the overnight. An hour and a half still to run. 11 minutes past 5 in the morning in the UK, an hour later than that in Central Europe. And if you are just rejoining us, my goodness me, what a story this race is panning out. Top 6 cars on the lead lap, different strategies, all still to play for. Sheldon van der Linde now nearly, well, actually, let's call it 10 seconds up the road.
But the top 6 still covered by less than 30 seconds, John.
Yeah.
That's the more impressive number for mine.
And that's actually come down because Rafa Marciello was 35 seconds away not so very long ago.
And they've been green since 1:10 p.m. We went back to green, and it's, what, 12 past 4 now. So 3 hours and 2 minutes of green flag running. And to have those cars still covered by less than 30 seconds.
Without the intervention of the BMW safety
Exactly
car.
right.
Yeah,
so that is hugely impressive. And it's been it's a cliche again, race of 2 halves. It was brutal for a period there. We went safety car after safety car and some big leaks and some big moments. And then it's in the second half, it's settled into this groove with everyone just playing themselves towards that final pit stop. And that generally means that there's going to be a heap of energy in that final 60 minutes as things ramp themselves up in the race to the finish.
I'm very impressed with Sheldon van der Linde since he came out of the pits. You have to be. but all of the drivers have done their bit in all of the cars.
We talk about strengths and weaknesses in GT cars as well. And it's interesting to look at when people have produced some lap speed in the race as well, Garth. So Daniel Serra, the quickest lap of that car was 9 laps into the race. The sun wasn't even up over the Blue Mountains yet with a 2:02.6. Lucas Stoles did a 2:02.5 on lap 133. So 123 or 124 laps later, set the quickest lap time. So just producing speed at different points of the weekend, and that 75 Express team had a really pacey little stanza there halfway through the race.
And we certainly haven't seen any peak lap time for a while because we've been in this fuel conservation mode. And the Daniel Serra car was when Chaz Mostert was on aboard and went on that tear at the start of the race and disappeared up the road.
Just keep an eye on the battle for Pro-Am. Alessio Rivera leads it at the moment by pretty much a full lap and a bit, because Maurice Shearing is closing down on him just a little bit. It was half a second here, another couple of tenths there to get back on the lead lap in class. And they're at various times they're in the same part of the circuit. So that's the number 36 in terms of the Ferrari and the number 91 Porsche as Wall Racing comes in for what will be their penultimate stop.
Well, it will have to be, because at 90 minutes, you're not getting to the end without putting more fuel in your car. So Brendan Leach will stop. This has been another great story. Sergio Perez behind the wheel. And jumping out of...
Well, they got the skates out for that car, so I hope that's... Oh, they're looking at that repaired corner. Just having a tug on the rear suspension to see if there's any movement there. So certainly hope that that's only precautionary in the garage. Quick check. The Lambo team from Wall Racing going to work.
Sydney Harbour and the city of Sydney about 3 hours from here. Just a couple of hours inland to Mount Panorama. The Sydney Harbour Bridge looking resplendent as we take a look at where the class leaders stand in the Meguiar's Bathurst 12 hour with 90 minutes to go in this one. So Sheldon van der Linde still leads. There's some pit stops to happen here. Brendan Leach is just in pit lane in the Wall Racing Lambo. They're the silver class leader and has just had brand new tyres thrown at that car for the final stint to the end. Jake Santalucia, the young man who's been racing in Porsche Sprint Challenge for Sonic Motor Racing, making his Bathurst Endurance Racing debut this weekend. He's doing a great job and leading the way in GT4. They're 13th outright, the leading and only remaining Method Motorsport McLaren. And this car's just been pushed back into the Tigani Motorsport garage to get some love. And this could be as simple a factor of take your time and make sure the thing's out there in the final half an hour and get to the line. Chad.
All right, so this top 6 as it sits at the moment, that was almost a deep breath before that one, like, okay, here we go. So we're working now on lap number, as I check on the timing screen. We're on 263 completed. There's your race leader. I figured I'd give you guys some data on where I think they're coming into pit for the next time. Now, obviously, we're working to your next time in on the timing marker, Craillsy, which will be about, what, 17 minutes away, we think? But I'm going to give you a lap number as well when we expect to see these cars in, so we can know, watching on at home as well, when we next expect to see them in. So car 32 is next expected on their 35-lap stint in green flag conditions in at lap 272. Behind them, car 77 is expected on 269, so 3-lap difference there. Car 26, that's the Ferrari, expected on 267. The 75 is expected also on that same lap as well. So that's 276 for the 75, so that's a huge difference, isn't it, compared to those cars that they're chasing. The 911 on 267 and car 46 on 275. Did you get those numbers?
Yeah.
All right, so...
What are these supplementaries?
35 and 86. So those numbers are based on their last stint time, which was in green flag condition. If you just bang that same number in, that's what you get. Long story short, exactly what you said, Craillsy. 3 guys that we can see in this field at the moment that are good on fuel. The 32, just. The 75, better. The 46, the best.
Yeah.
And the 46, with potentially the best run home on fuel, is the 6th of the cars in contention for the race.
Yeah, 28 seconds behind at the moment. But Garth, if you have to go max fuel save here, that, I mean, seconds can be disappearing very quickly.
Yeah, and that's the trade-off you have to make. And because of the 80-second minimum pit stop time, you can go into max fuel save before it's actually, you have to commit to another lap. You can go a long way into max fuel save. One car that is not doing max fuel save is the 26 Arise Racing Ferrari, as they gear up, awaiting the arrival of Daniel Serra out of third spot. He's making his way up Mountain Straight, so the team will be waiting for a while. He's got to get his way all the way across the top of the mountain.
This strikes me as being perhaps a lap or two early from where I would have expected them in. So I wonder if they've made a call about, we've got to get the thing in, we've got to fill it up, and then we're going flat out.
Yeah, potentially.
32 laps it will be next time around for that Ferrari.
That's actually close enough on a 32-lap stint.
They've not done any. They did a 34-lap stint, and that was aided by the BMW safety car. So that's bang on for them in a green flag stint.
I could see the fuel ready, and I could see brand new Pirellis ready, but I couldn't see a Chaz Mostert ready at that time. He might be just lurking at the back of the garage. You don't tend to come forward until you know the car is basically leaving the chase. On board here with Daniel Serra as he makes his way out of Forest Elbow for his run down Conrod Straight. Let's hear from Chad in Elf Pit Lane.
They'll have to do a driver change on this car, Garth, because if Serra was to stay in it, he would just go over his maximum continuous driving time by a minute.
So, mate,
moving pieces.
It is a game of seconds, this race, and it is every year. And you have to be a rocket scientist to try and work out how all the moving pieces, fuel and tyre and driver time, fits in. The Lamborghini trying to warm its tyres. They're brand new Pirellis that went on that Lamborghini. So Brendan Leach is about to go really fast. And into the lane comes the first of our contenders, and the Porsche follows. So this is on brand for the race from what we've seen, in that these two cars have been inseparable. But with an hour and 20 minutes to go, they're going to need serious fuel saving, serious help, or another pit stop to get to the checkered flag from here. And that's a good story. That puts a smile on everyone's face, the guy of Valmont Racing Audi back on the racetrack.
If it's green from here to the end with an hour and 24 to go, they're not making it. You can't save that much fuel here.
So you get Chaz in now, for example, and Matt Campbell in the Porsche, and you blaze, you go as hard as you possibly can, you hang on for as long as you possibly can, awaiting the potential of a safety car, when everyone's going to pit anyway, you're back on even kill, or you just roll the dice.
And you run it till it goes dry.
Yes,
basically. Normally you would say you want to make your last pit stop first, just in case you get the wrong side of a safety car, but this is too far out for that. So these guys,
13 minutes short.
These guys are basically, they've got no choice at this point. This is a 32-lap stint for both of them. That's what they've been doing in between their visits to the Elfoil pit lane, all through the 10.5 hours so far.
The irony of this is that if any one of the safety car periods we've had in the race was a lap longer here, a lap longer there, that could have been the difference between them pitting with an hour and 20 to go or coming in with an hour and 5 to go when you could make it to the end. So it is a game of inches, and they are so close to being in the window, but frustratingly right now they're not in it.
And compounding the pain for the 911 Absolute Racing Porsche, their pit stop then, remember it's a minimum of 80 seconds stop time, 84 seconds versus 81 for Chaz Mostert and Arise Racing. So not only are they stopping earlier than they like, they stop for longer than they would have liked. And you say it's only 3 seconds, we can't see Chaz Mostert up the road. He's gone because it extrapolates so much more when the cars are only doing 40k an hour in pit lane.
So what have you said to those two drivers that have gone in? Let's have a think about that. Let's head back down to the Elfoil pit lane. Shay Adam, who have you been staring at, Shay? What information have you scared out of people?
Well, I was staring at that pit stop for the Absolute Racing Porsche, the number 911, and Matt Campbell actually revved the car, tried to get it to go, and it didn't, and then took a second, breathed, as it turned out, took 3 seconds, breathed, and then finally got the car engaged in gear, left in a very smooth and beautiful burnout. But that was the difference in that pit time. It was Matt trying to ask the Porsche to go, and the Porsche saying,
Interesting.
Yeah.
That car has had a new gearbox this week.
Yeah, I think it's just sometimes with these gearboxes, potentially with the paddle shift, because it's an electronic signal that then goes to generally an air actuated gear selector that gets lost in translation sometimes, or it goes dog on dog inside mechanically in the gearbox and it won't select, and that's what Shay made the point where Matty Campbell just let the car breathe, let the revs come right back down again, then try again, grab a gear, but all that takes time. And as it turns out, it's north of 3 seconds to get all that done.
Yeah, let everything spin back down again.
Yep.
So we're now waiting for car 77. The car that sits in second place for Craft Bamboo Racing. And Lucas Auer, who so superbly yesterday scored the Alan Simonson Pole Award. There's some hustle going on from the race leader as well, by the way.
Yeah.
Smacked the curb on the left-hander at the top of the hill at the chase.
He did that yesterday in qualifying,
Yeah.
and I thought, yeah, that's a quali thing. Yeah, you do that in quali because it doesn't matter. It's not 12 hours, but
Rafa Marciello last time around, a 2:03.7, 2:04.5, 2:04.5, 2:05.2 for the cars in front of him. Lelo's got the hurry up.
yeah, well, he's got a lot of fuel
Correct.
compared to the 32. He's got much more fuel, so probably deciding I can burn a bit now and find myself a bit of track position ahead of this final stop.
Maybe just close that gap that was number 30, just over 30 seconds between him and the leader. It's down to 26 now. Doesn't sound like a lot, but that could make a big difference in an hour and 20 minutes. Pulling it back.
The Craft Bamboo car is the next one due in on the numbers we've been working to, and 11 seconds around, and they are in a conservation mode at the moment. The 2:05.0 last time round, unaffected by traffic in clean air. They're getting to the back of the Aston Martin now.
Next
Get
lap.
that car back out there. by the
Next
way.
lap, I reckon,
Yeah.
for the back seat.
You talk about staring at people. Well, I'm staring at cars, and I'm listening to cars, because going into turn one, Sheldon van der Linde is lifting fairly early, going in, coasting, making it through. But here's the interesting thing. Raffaele Marciello is lifting at the exact same point, and he's finding more lap time. So maybe Lello just has the ability to save fuel and go a little bit faster, which is a weird thing about this GT3 BMW M4.
Yeah.
They do tend to go better the easier you drive them. But as far as staring at people, well, Jules Gounon is finally starting to get ready for his final stint in the 75 Express Mercedes and the 77 Mercedes, the Craft Bamboo car that you guys were talking about. That will be Lughi taking it to the end. Lucas Auer, they have new tires ready, and they're ready for him on the pit lane.
And for the Arise Racing Ferrari number 26, if ever there was a sign that they don't think they're going to get there on fuel, it's that they're putting more ELF fuel back into the fuel rig. So that's a dead set sign that they're pretty confident that they're not going to make it. The exact words from the crew was they only think one car can make it in the entire race so far. So maybe some different numbers that they're seeing.
Did they say which car they thought?
Yeah,
could make it?
exactly.
I couldn't quite get that information out of
Don't
Adam
bury the
Moore.
lead, Jay.
Don't want to give away the game here.
Here comes the Lucas
77.
Auer car. Remember Valentino Rossi telling Shea earlier on in the Elford pit lane that they were getting better lap times, the smoother and the more relaxed they were driving that car. That is an exceptional piece of engineering, that BMW. Right, gents. An hour and 18 as he came in. It's going to be about an hour and 17 when he comes out. Lucas Auer, oh man, that's tight, Chris.
It's not enough. No, not enough if it stays green.
Too
They're-
tight to the wrong side, John.
They're in better shape than the Porsche and the Ferrari we've just seen, but they're not as in good shape as the BMWs or car 75.
So what do you do here, Garth? Then you're better off than the two that's just off. You're not as good as the two BMWs. It's max save for this car. It's got to be, hasn't it? You've got a podium finish, or do you go all out and say to Whatnot with it, we want to win this race?
Well, you need to maintain your track position, but then you probably need to go max save, because if you get a safety car in this last stint, you don't want to burn all your fuel, get a safety car,
Correct.
and still not have enough fuel to get to the end of the race. So they're in a really tough position, the Craft Bamboo team.
I think it's hardest for somebody like that who's right on the bubble.
You're in the middle.
Yeah.
They're in the middle. They're in the middle of the Porsche and the Ferrari. They're not as bad as those guys, so those guys are almost got to commit to go max attack. The 77 is stuck because the cars that have got the fuel to get the job done, you can't do what they're going to do either. So they're in a bit of limbo at the moment right now. I think you have to save and hope for a safety car, and then at some point in this stint, probably in the next 10 laps, decide whether what you can do, whether you need to push to maintain that track position over the Ferrari and Porsche.
Yeah, in the knowledge that a lot of your rivals are probably in exactly the same boat as you. And that's the good thing about it, is that everyone is playing a similar game. An hour and 16 to go, and this one is still very, very wide open.
I am absolutely loving this. This is 21st century old school endurance racing, because what we've had here is everything. We've had pace, we've had side-by-side racing, we've had strategy, we've had people working the tyres. Remember, only 12 sets of Pirelli tyres from free practice 1 on Friday, and we've still got cars in it without having to artificially... Sorry, that sounds wrong, but without having to close the field up by a neutralisation. We never bring the safety car out when it isn't required. That is for safety reasons. But you know what I mean, Craillsy? This is genuine performance. And by the way, anybody who thinks that BOP doesn't work, look at this and look at the difference of the cars. BMW, front engine V8. Mercedes, front engine V8. Ferrari, mid-engine V6. Porsche, rear-engined flat 6, and they look distinctively different. They've got different aero qualities, and they're still all in the fight.
Yeah, and a combination of normally aspirated and turbocharged as well.
Yeah.
This is a turbocharged car. The Porsche very much still normally aspirated. No forced induction on the Porsche flat 6. Thank you very much. Even if you can't buy a non-turbo one in the road cars these days.
No, you can still get the GT3.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, good point.
GT3 2-ring, obviously. Don't need the rear wing. I'll create my own downforce when I get into it. Before you said anything, Thunder, I could see it going through your mind.
Wouldn't dream of it, John. Wouldn't dream of it.
This fuel economy advantage that the BMWs have got, those extra couple of laps is working because they've been able to push harder. And remember, we've been talking about track position today as well. And relative to those around you, right now, Sheldon van der Linde's pulled 18 seconds on Lucas Stoll, so it's extended quite significantly. And again, if you need to save in the final stanza, the more time you've got up your sleeve, the better it is for you.
But this only happens because we took away the 32-lap stint rule.
Yeah.
For them, this only happens because of that.
It didn't, yeah. I mean, we've got a BMW, a Mercedes AMG, a Ferrari and a Porsche in the top 6, and any one of them could win the race.
Yeah, no, that's certainly been a much better change to the regs, getting rid of that 32 maximum stint length rule we had last year. We've got all sorts of variability, the ability for the drivers to save fuel as we watch the field make their way up Mountain Straight. There goes Lucas Stoltz in the 75 Express AMG Mercedes. Here comes Raffaele Macchiello making his way up Mountain Straight, and the Hallmark Audi that currently has Lee Holdsworth aboard, second in the bronze class.
Chaz Mostard's just put in a 202 in the 5th place car.
Yeah.
That's not fuel saving.
And
he's on it.
They've sent it, and he's now up the rear wing of Lucas Auer. So they're about to come into shot. Actually, I think they're still coming down Conrad Straight.
That'll tell us whether the 77's saving fuel, whether he wants to maintain the track position or not. We know Chaz is going to send it. We know Campbell is going to send it.
So I think Chaz is about to pass him. So that's the sister Ferrari coming through. This is a battle for position. It's for 4th and 5th, and between the cars that have completed what they hope is going to be their final stop in the race, but we're not convinced it is. They're running out of time. So Chaz Mostert has pushed the go button, and he is flying in the Arise Racing GT Ferrari. The poleman Lucas Auer in front. Mostert looking to go around the outside at turn 2. He's going to have to bide his time. So they've clearly decided at Arise Racing, they are going to press on, go as fast as you can, in the knowledge that we're going to have to stop and put fuel in.
Yeah, Lucas Auer lost nearly 3 seconds. Not on the end of that lap, but the previous one. Chaz Mostert doing a 202 against a 205 for the AMG ahead of him. He's in full attack mode.
Don't forget, Auer is heavier at the moment because he stopped later than the Ferrari to fill the tank to give them as much flexibility as they can manage for this last stint. Mostert's car was one of the first cars in to take the last stop, so his car's a little bit lighter. They've clearly decided they're going to try and get up the road. And we saw earlier with Lucas Stoltz, the AMGs are a little bit lazy for the first 3 or 4 laps while they're full of fuel, and then they start to come to life.
And for cars 32, 75 and 46, so the 2 BMWs split in the middle by the car that's finished first twice and was runner-up last year, the window is now open for them to get home on one more pit stop. So that's the race. There's 3 cars that can and 3 cars that might. And here's Chaz in the tow, looks down the inside at the kink and will take that position away. The Ferrari will move to 4th.
Yeah, he's 5 laps worse off on fuel than the car that he's just passed. That's the calculation there. All right, if you reckon you're in there, 70 minutes to go, and that, as we've seen throughout the day, that has been achievable. Do you make your pit stop straight away? Do you make your last pit stop straight away?
No, you go as long as you possibly can, because you may still get that free safety car as well.
That, or the further you go into the race, as Chaz Mostert completes his elf oil slick pass down at the chase, uses the toe nicely, and then side drafts his way past Lucas Auer as they make their way down to the kink. Just there, stays nice and close to the rear quarter panel of the Mercedes. Gets track position at the kink, and there's nothing Lucas Auer's able to do about it as Chaz closes it down.
He was 8 k's an hour quicker at the speed trap down there, so the toe, massive influence in helping that pass. So these cars are in the window. Nate, push on as long as you can, and it means it's less fuel you can put in at the end. But more importantly in this race, it's less fuel saving. Basically means you can push on harder. So right now, car 32 hasn't stopped. Chaz Mostert has, and they're 1 minute and 32 apart. So it's 1 minute and 20 to do a pit stop. Yeah. So there's 12 seconds in there. What it means is that Mostert's going to be on the road second.
And closer to Van der Linde,
and flying, but he's going to have to stop.
But has to stop, yeah. So, and they'll be weighing track position and all that up in the garage at WRC now. So that'll all come into their calculations about when they take that stop.
69 minutes to go, gentlemen. Bathurst bending time again. Where has the last 11 hours disappeared to? I literally have not moved because I didn't dare, because I didn't want to miss anything.
I think Arise Racing are taking this stop soon.
Yeah.
The crew were just starting to glove up, do their helmets up.
Well, I get that.
Unless that's for the 36 car.
Could be. Let me have a look. Shall I check, sir?
There's the pro car, it goes through.
Standby corner.
It may be for the 36.
Alessio Rovera behind the wheel of that car. They're in 8th outright, the sister car, leading the Pro-Am class by 1 lap.
They've only been out about 13 laps in the 36, the second car. So here we go.
Limbering up, doing a stretch. Kelvin van der Linde, who for many a year has been one of the fastest and most electrifying internationals to drive a GT3 car. Here we go. This is the clutch moment. Right on the edge of their pit window to get to the checkered flag without stopping again. Sheldon van der Linde attacks the pit lane. He's going to hand the race-leading BMW over to his teammate for what could be their final pit stop.
And how excited were we in the booth here? Well, Meguiar Contender came together there as we pointed at the screen at the same time. They've been side by side as we were pointing at the screen. Brand new green stickers. Look, they're just going to be fast. And it's brother for brother as Kelvin van der Linde will get into that car and be told, you've got about 67 minutes, 66 and a half minutes. And that's what separates you from the top step of the podium. Now, banging on the front, started up.
Trying to shake all the leaf debris out of the front grille and out of the air intake. So you can see they've blown it out as much as they can.
Pretty fat with fuel now.
But I don't think it'll be completely full. They would have only had the fuel rig connected enough to get to the end under full push, like full green, full push.
Yeah, yeah. Their window was an hour and 12, we thought, so they've come in at an hour and 6 to go. So there's
3 laps.
Yeah.
3 laps of fuel they won't have put in the car.
It's enough of a safety margin. Crosses the line. What's the pit stop time?
80.7.
80.7, again, like clockwork. And out he goes. And there is Chaz Mostert. So this is what we were talking about with the Ferrari that's going to have some overlap here and be up to speed. But Kelvin will make this quite difficult for Chaz Mostert, who now finds himself in 4th place. So Lucas Stolz has gone through. 75 assumes the lead. Pit stop still to come. It's looking even better for the Mercedes-AMG at the moment. If they can go a little bit further, their economy isn't as good as the BMW, but they're in a really good place. And then we think the last car to stop will be car 46, which is Raffaele Marciello behind the wheel of Valentino Rossi's BMW Team WRT entry.
When we were talking about the variety, I actually gave the BMW 2 extra cylinders and put it in a V. It's a straight 6, of course it is, in the M3, not a V8. Thank you, Punishlessness, for reminding me of that. But it actually adds to the variety, because it's another configuration of engine. Inline 6-cylinder engine. 8 is great, but...
My bad, it was the team car, John. Sorry, I got that wrong. It was the sister Arise racing car, so the Pro-M entry with Alessio Rivera, so not in the same race. And Van der Linde's gone through on that, which is pretty sensible on all accounts.
So it's about 11 seconds back to Chaz Mostert from Van der Linde, who's on his out lap. So we think it'll be another 3 or 4 laps for the 75 AMG Mercedes. So
if they do that, they're within an hour to go.
Yes.
And they're in really good shape.
Oh, yes.
This is fascinating stuff. 4.9 seconds between Stolz and Marciello. And then what can Kelvin van der Linde do? So it's got 1 minute and 2 seconds behind the 2 leading cars right now.
And every lap that goes by between this BMW on screen pitting and its sister BMW plus the 75 Sun Energy Mercedes is a critical part of the race. If any BMW safety car was to come out right now, it would essentially give them a free pit stop while they're up the road. So it's a hugely important couple of laps here before they pit.
Yeah, really good point that Chad makes, and that's why we always say the wider your pit stop window at the end of the race, the more flexibility that you have. And you might say, gee, God, the 75 and the 46 were lucky to get that late race safety car. No, they weren't. They've been working for 4 hours to get themselves into position to take advantage of that late race safety car, should it come at the right time for them.
You can't win the lottery without buying a ticket. And that's what they've effectively done. They've put themselves at the front of the queue when it matters.
And look, it might not happen, and they might not get that ultimate safety car right at the right time. But if you don't put yourself in the position, you can't take advantage of it.
Into the pit lane for what is the leading car. The BMW will follow it in. So Stolz and Marciello come in for what will be their final stop at 63 minutes, grazing the edge of the grass as they come in. Drivers standing ready. It will surprise no one at all here or anywhere else in the world to know that the ultimate plug-and-play performance accessory around this place is about to be installed on the number 75 Express AMG. Jules Gounon gets ready to take the last stint here at the mountain.
Oh, I love this for us. This is great, isn't it? The final stops to decide this race. On his marks, Lucas Stolz, again, another massively workmanlike performance throughout the race, and old Jules gets the hero stint at the end again. He'll get 60 minutes behind the wheel of car 75 to see what they can do. We're waiting for Van der Linde too. So Kelvin should go through and grab the lead. He was 1 minute behind the 75 car, and it's going to take 1 minute 20 minimum for this pit stop to be completed. So there's going to be some margin, and there goes the 32 car. The BMW's been dropped, but they're a long way further down the pit lane. Kenny's got the box seat right at the end. Helps being an ambassador for the Bathurst Regional Council, I suppose, but also probably winning this race a bunch of times. So Mostert through as well, as predicted, gets himself to second, but almost certainly can't make it to the end on fuel.
I don't think... Yeah, it was. Wow.
Have a look at the pit time for the 75 car. 80.07 seconds.
Nailed it.
I mean, the WRT 46 stop wasn't bad. It was 80.1. But the closest to 82nd was 75 Express on the last stop of the day. Talk about clutch pit stop moments. There's one for you right there.
There is 3 jokers to go underneath that, and we've only seen WRT use it once.
Yeah, but sport
like
is getting as close to 80 without going under.
Yeah,
That's a good sport.
Find me someone that's going to go get in that little gap that 75 Express have loopholed. That's a nice job.
The last hour of the 2025 Meguiar's Bathurst 12 hours comes up next. You ready?
I'm ready.
You ready?
I was born ready.
11 hours leads to this. And it's not been a boring 11 hours. We've had plenty to talk about. We've had incident, accident. We've had a bit of controversy. We've had things to talk about all the way through. And now we've got a sprint to the line.
Compelling from lap 1 when they were 3 wide heading up Mountain Straight, remember?
That's still going to get played over and over and over again, isn't it?
So 6.4 seconds, Van der Linde to Mostert. I mean, if you were, we've ranked our GOATs greatest of all time in the GT3 era. What we should have done is most exciting of all time, potential in the GT3 era, and these two would be an absolute shoe-in for 1 and 2.
Box office.
Yeah, and I don't think there'd be a huge amount of argument about it either. So there's Chazzy. So Van der Linde across the line, 204.31 for the race leader. They still need to be slightly cautious on fuel. They're good to go, but can't burn it all. 203.13 for Mostert, so he pulled 1.2 seconds out of the leader last time round. Van der Linde is still fresh out of pit lane though, so there's still a bit of normalisation to happen there. 26 seconds covering the top 6 cars. Yeah. 26 seconds.
Yeah.
Another little curveball for Gounon in the 75 car as he gets up to speed and starts to burn a bit of fuel out of his car. His hour is just 4 seconds up the road from him, so he'll want to get that track position off the 77 Craft Bamboo car. You can't afford to just sit there and wait for him to peel back into the pit lane if he needs to take that last stop. So that'll get a bit spicy once Gounon gets up to speed, if he's able to get to the rear bumper of the Craft Bamboo 77 AMG Mercedes.
David Russell is shown behind the wheel of the silver class P2 car. Superbarn Supermarkets, Tigani Motorsport entry. They've been in the wars. They spent quite a bit of time in the lane, 257 laps for them compared to 276 for the race leader. Predictor at the moment pointing towards 298, maybe 300 laps, depending on how this final stint plays out.
Yeah, I'm looking at 300. But that all very much depends where the leader is at the time certain start of the last lap. This is just incredible. The unbeaten in 2025 WRT BMW team. Every endurance race they've entered, they've won overall at least. And Dubai 24 hours, they won a class as well with the GT3. So this so far, Vincent Voss will tell you those early races, just a bit of extra testing for us.
Yeah, and just remember that race checkered flag flies the second time the lead car crosses the finish line after 17:43 hours AEDT. Right, Australian Eastern Daylight Time. Second time. We'll obviously have it confirmed by race control upstairs when that last lap starts. ...277 laps into the Meguiar's Bathurst 12 out. There's 57 minutes to go, and the situation is this. Kelvin van der Linde leads for BMW. They have never won here in the GT era. They won twice in production cars in 2007 and 2010. They've had a couple of pole positions in the GT era. They've never won outright. He leads by 5 seconds, but he leads a car that we don't think could make it to the end on their current tank of fuel. The same situation for the car that currently sits in third in the form of Craft Bamboo Racing and Lucas Hour. But there are 6 cars in real contention to win today's race.
including the car that Lucas Stoltz just vacated a few minutes ago. Luca, you got out of the 75 Mercedes. The crew, the entire garage gave you a huge round of applause. Once again, you've gotten a Mercedes into contention at the end of this race. Do you think Joel has the car to do another win?
I was going to say it's always good when you visit us in the last garage because it usually means we are at the front. No, we didn't have a really smooth start, but yeah, we fight it back, and I think now we are in contention. It all comes down to if there's a yellow or not. So I cross fingers that there's no yellow, and as usual, Jules is in for the last stint, and yeah, cross fingers that we are finishing on the podium.
What is it that's so magic about this trio of you, Joel, and Kenny?
It's always magic because the whole week is magic. We stay in Kenny's house. He takes care of us. We always have a good time here, and for sure that the track is really special. Jules and me, we always kiss the wall up there and hope for a good race. And usually the mountain is good to us, so I hope this time as well.
Yeah, me too. Good luck.
Thank you.
And just watching this race scream towards the finish at this rapid pace. The last time that the safety car went back into pit lane was 1:10 p.m., which means we've been running under green flag conditions now for 3 hours and 40 minutes. We're still an hour away from the finish. So this stint of green flag running already is the 4th longest in 12-hour history. Should we get to the finish, it will take us to the 2nd longest green flag run in history. The 2023 race also finished in very similar circumstances.
In the Alfoil pit lane, the leader in bronze. Let's not forget the classes here. Ross Gunn brings the Heart of Racing by SPS AMG in a very creditable 7th place overall. They're a lap off the lead, and I think they'll actually steer just 1 lap off the overall lead. But they were looking for a good finish and a top step of the podium. Looks like they're going to get that. Pro-Am is the 2nd of the Ferraris, the number 36 car, Alessio Rivera in that machine for Arise Racing GT, and sits in 8th position. The silver leader is the Wall Racing Lamborghini. Brendan Leach, who was drafted into that team, they're in the top 10 as well, and I think they'll be delighted with a top 10 finish in that car, Craillsy.
Leading the way in GT4 for Method Motorsport, Josh Buchan, who was a last-minute call-up to that squad. Cameron Campbell was originally due to drive that. He elected to focus on his Ferrari Challenge Australasia commitment. So fortunately, his driver coach and double TCR Australia champion and reigning champ Josh Buchan was on hand, and like every good racing car driver, had his helmet with him. So he took over that seat, and they're leading GT4. It's been quite a good battle between them and the Griffo Mercedes, which is down with Adam Christodoulou in 16th position at the moment. And the KTM, it still runs. 15th position, Glenn Wood continues to circulate, looking for the first time to get that car to the finish. It's never been beyond the 4th hour of the race, so they just want to get that thing home. Here's the Ben Porsche, 2nd in the Pro-Am class. At 1 point, well up in the 6 and 7. So strategy-wise, they're in great shape. They'll get to the end here and can go as quickly as they like.
And they're plugging in a new driver. Showing coming out. The choreographed, perfectly choreographed pit stop. Those wheel and tyre combinations, the way these guys throw them around, they're actually the weight of the heaviest carry-on, heaviest checked baggage that you can have. They're about 23, 24 kilos. Yeah. And that is not an easy thing to do, carrying them with one hand.
Yeah, well, usually they've got a wheel in one hand and a gun in the other.
Exactly.
So they're lugging around some heavy equipment there, and the way that they do it and the choreographed nature of GT pit stops is seriously impressive to watch. How they manage the various chores and regulations that they have to meet each time the cars come to pit lane.
Because there's not 23 people around the car as there would be in, let's say, Formula 1.
So, race leader Kelvin van der Linde can make it to the end of the race. They are good to go to the end. There's Chaz Mostert in the Ferrari for Arise Racing GT. He cannot make it to the end unless that car has some form of magical reserve tank that they've neglected to tell anyone about, and therefore breaching all of the BOP rules. It might lead for a moment, because Chaz is hauling in van der Linde at the moment. but it will be the work of a moment. They're going to have to stop again. Next in the queue, Lucas Hour, 77, Craft Bamboo Racing. There it is. They've been so strong today. They're going to have to make another pit stop again, or they're going to run out of fuel towards the end. Jules Gounon, good to go to the end, flat out with one of the best ever here to press on. And then Raffaele Marciello, also good to go to the end in car 46. And the sixth and final contender is the Porsche, running in sixth place. Yellow and black with Skippy up the side, with Matt Campbell behind the wheel. And despite the fact that he is one of the greatest of all time at this venue, I don't think there's going to be any last-minute surge from them unless something miraculous happens, because they are going to have to make another pit stop as well, and Matt is on a very similar strategy to Chaz Mostert. So that's where the top 6 cars, who I'll remind you, after nearly 4 hours of green flag running, are split by just 24 seconds. That's where they stand going into the final 51 minutes of this race.
So if you're saying Mostert has to pit again, that takes him out of second. If Auer has to pit again, that takes him out of third. That elevates Gounon and Marciello to second and third.
Correct.
Of the top 6, those are the 2 cars that are the closest on track. And Marciello is now starting to look threatening.
That's the battle.
To Gounon. Could it possibly be a BMW 1-2 for
That's
WR?
what they'll be aiming for. Absolutely what they'll be aiming for. You absolutely took the words out of our mouth there, because Marciello is pushing.
The game for this one is Gounon v Marciello in the dying moments of the race.
Look, I'll take that.
Okay.
For position.
I think that'll be worth watching.
Yeah. For a position, possibly not the position that Gounon or Marciello would want, but it's another position. It's something to race for. It's something to aim for. And you'll take that as a race car driver, won't you? End of the race.
Yeah, and race car drivers are spiteful creatures, and you'll do whatever you can to stop another team having a moment. And a moment would be a 1-2 for a manufacturer and a race team. So you'll do anything you can to make that happen, or to stop it happening. So if you're Marciello, it's maximum attack. If you're Gounon, you're doing everything you can to spoil the party.
And there's a slight fly in the ointment, is that they are catching Lucas R, who is on max fuel save at the moment. And so the 4th and 5th cars are absolutely reeling him in. And we are, for a moment or two at least, going to have a 3-car battle pack, Richard Crail, for the 3rd step on the box.
And Van der Linde's responded to Mostert coming at him as well, so it's exactly 2 seconds, but Kelvin, the leader, 2:03.7 last time by to Mostert 3:5. So they're only a couple of tenths apart, and the Ferrari's rapid rate of climb towards the race lead has been halted.
It was a 3.8 for Gounon and a 3.5 for Marciello. So they're now starting to turn the wick up. It was Auer who was the slowest of the top 5 with a 5.0 on that lap. So Gounon and Marciello closing in on the back of the 77 Craft Bamboo AMG Mercedes as they make their way past the tree, onto the top of the shelf and across the top of the mountain.
I don't know why I breathe in there. I'm not making any of those cars any narrower, but I do every time. Jules Gounon's drinks tube has come disconnected, and I thought I saw a moment or two ago he was pressing the button and spraying the steering wheel.
No, what happens there, so Jules has decided he doesn't like straw in his helmet, so he's got it velcroed to the bottom of his helmet. So that's why it sits there, and he just grabs it, sticks it underneath the chin of his helmet. But while I saw the water coming out of it too, what happens is they have a one-way valve in the drink straw to stop it vacuum emptying itself every time you jump on the brake pedal. The one-way valves never work. So he'll be getting soaked at the moment, but he'll have no idea what's going on, because his focus at the moment is out the front window looking at the 77 and in the rear vision mirror keeping an eye on the 46.
48 minutes to go. And here is the battle for the moment for 3rd, 4th and 5th. Coming down to Elfoyle Murray's. They'll click off another lap and complete lap 282.
Raffaele Marciello, Swiss driver, 6th visit to the mountain. His track record here is very, very good. 2nd in 2018, he was 3rd in 19 and 2023, 5th last year in the BMW, in this BMW with Valentino Rossi. crossed the line third in 2020, but they had a post-race penalty and were relegated back to 6th. So he's filled every spot in the top 6 of this race, except the first one.
He might be disappointed there again today. It's been a super race for so many of the manufacturers. BMW at the moment, from Ferrari, from Mercedes, from BMW, from Porsche. We've got the spread of the major manufacturers here, with due respect to Lamborghini and to Aston Martin. That is impressive, all within that 25-second spread that Richard was talking about early on. Now this is really interesting to me, Garth, because they've caught Lucas out, but they haven't been able to put a move on him.
Yeah, because they've got to the dirty air. So Gilles Gounon's got to within 6/10 of the rear bumper of Lucas Auer, and then can't get any closer because of the dirty air and the loss of front downforce in particular across the top of the mountain. I actually was going to make the point that I thought Raffaello Marciello did a very nice job of being much closer to the rear of Gilles Gounon. That Gounon was able to be close to Lucas Auer on that previous lap across the top of the mountain.
They'll know as we do, surely. Sorry, Gounon and Marciello will know as we do that Auer and Mostert probably have to stop. So they realise, surely now, they'll have been told by the team that they are racing each other for second.
Yeah, but they want to get through on Auer as quickly as they can so that they can resume. What Gounon's wish list in the next 5 minutes is to get by Auer, and then Auer make it really hard for Raffaello Marciello for another 10 minutes or so. But whether that happens or not, like Lucas Auer, he doesn't care. He's got his own race to play. They're all doing low 4s on the last lap, so they've all locked in on the same lap time. Unfortunately for Auer, Gounon and Marciello, the 2 leaders did very low 3s, so they continue to extend at the front of the field.
Yeah, and the gap at the front is down to a 1.5 seconds again, as Chaz Mostert took half a second out of Kelvin van der Linde. I suspect van der Linde is just pacing himself. I don't think he wants to give up track position, though, despite the fact that he knows that Mostert has to pit again.
Yeah, it's a bit of risk versus reward as well. I mean, if Chaz gets to the rear of the Ferrari and really hustles, then, hey, mate, off you go, no drama, don't stress. But you don't, if you can keep clear air and stay in front, absolutely do that. So, a bit of risk versus reward. If Kelvin's feeling comfortable pushing on to maintain that pace and that gap over Chaz, push on.
Under 45 minutes to go. The gap at the front, 1.2 seconds.
Sydney, get ready for an unforgettable start to the 2025 Repco Supercars Championship. A new season of Supercars begins with 3 big days of racing action, plus a huge pit party on the main straight Saturday night featuring one of the world's best DJs, Timmy Trumpet, and special guest, the Sunset Brothers. Sydney Motorsport Park, Feb 21 to 23. Race by day, party by night. Book now at Ticket Tech.
It's a massive start to the Repco Supercars Championship. It's a massive finish to the Meguiar's Bathurst 12 hour. 43 minutes remain in this edition of Australia's International Endurance Race. It's 0.9 of a second for the lead, with Mostert, who we believe cannot make it to the end on the fuel they have, against Kelvin van der Linde, who certainly can for BMW. And then 20 seconds down the road, you've got this fight among some cans and maybes, with Lucas Auer in the 77 car in 3rd place, feeling the pressure from Gilles Gounon in 4th, and Raffaele Marciello in the other BMW in 5th place. And then just clinging on, just grappling at the back of the pack is the Porsche, with Matt Campbell behind, trying to find a way to deliver some of their magic that they've had in the past. There are 6 cars that could still win this race. Sure, some are more likely than the others, but it's also Mount Panorama, and crazy stuff happens here.
Heads up driving by Josh Buchan, leading in GT4. He just needed to give that away, and he had this little trio of battling GT3s coming up as he was heading up into the cutting. He just gave them a little flash to let them know which side to go by, and lifted out that McLaren ease off as he was climbing the hill.
again, this time across the top of the mountain. Gounon was not able to stay close to Auer, whereas Raffaele Marciello was able to stay close to Gounon. John Hindhaugh takes a very deep breath as they leave Forest Elbow.
Still pretty pointy, that being
Run up against the concrete wall on exit. So whether Gounon's doing that on purpose to manage front tyre temps, or he just can't get close enough because of the loss of front downforce.
Yeah, because he's got damage there, and that's been there for a very long time. And maybe in clear air it doesn't worry him so much, but you know, you don't have sticky tape on there without it being damaged, and actually that's getting worse. And it's starting to just fold in on itself on the right front there.
Yeah, I don't think he has the front grip and or the rotation that he needs from that car, so I think he is suffering front across the top of the mountain.
And the end game of that battle is, we think that's a battle for third position, but it's between Marciello and Gounon for second and third in this race overall. So we don't think Mostard's got a chance. We don't think Lucas Auer's got a chance as it stands, pending any other interruptions. Here are the leaders. 0.4 now between it. And they had some traffic last time around. They were only in the 204, as I say, only. A couple of years ago, that would have been the stuff of legend, but they had some traffic clearly, so the margin closed down, and the Ferrari trying to find a way past. That's Adam before he left the screen, watching his long-time charge, trying to do the things that Chaz always seems to be able to do at this place.
This is a tough one. How hard do you fight if you're von der Linde? Yes, you know that car behind has to make another pit stop, but we have seen in the past this race.
Find out soon.
You're going to find out either now or he's going to defend.
Defending.
So there you go.
You've seen this race end prematurely in the past, and you know, how do you weigh all that up, Garth?
I don't think Kelvin needs to do this. The team need to get on the radio and say, he's not in the game. We don't think he's got the fuel to get the job done. Let him go, because the risk versus reward is going to get higher and higher and higher the more that he tries to keep Chaz behind.
I just actually heard them cue up the radio and say, Kelvin, let him by. And that was before Kelvin defended going into the elbow.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
side by side. Oh, sorry, nose to tail coming out of the chase. Let's see what they're like into the final corner and how that happens. And
he's defended again.
Defended again.
Do you remember 12 months ago when these two were in Audis and they really weren't listening to the teams about what instructions they needed to do?
It was convenient the radio had just become unplugged at that point. It was amazing how that happened.
I've had that happen at times.
Yeah, so Kelvin von der Linde at the moment is saying,
here we go. So exit of the elbow and the run down into Elf Meguiar's corner. Aussie right on the outside on the white line. Well, there was a Ferrari width there, to be fair. Just. You
don't want to get on the wrong side of race control here either. That's the other thing.
Well, the worst thing for both of them would be end up parked in that gravel trap down there and out of the race.
Risk versus reward.
Because then Gilles Gounon becomes very hard to pass for the sister car.
There's 17.5 seconds between these two and Lucas Auer, who we know can't get to the end either. And then there's another 3/4 of a second back to Gilles Gounon and Raffaele Marciello. The gap between the top 5 now under 20 seconds. The top 6, 22 seconds as Matt Campbell is closing in as well.
So since we're expecting those three, as Mostert drops a couple in the dirt, to still need to come and make that pit stop for fuel, that means they're going to have to take a minimum of 80 seconds in pit lane, right? So for the two cars that are chasing car 32 on screen right now, does that mean that if there was a clear safety car, they could potentially have a free tyre stop? Because they're not racing those other cars. So who's got tyres? Well, up the road at car 46, they've got some. And check it out, sitting in the sunshine. Car 75's got some fresh Pirellis to go, just in case they might get a late race safety car. Then it'll be up to the 32 to make the decision. Stay out or give up track position.
And the key point about that is there's no 80-second minimum. It's as fast as you can change those 4 Pirelli tyres. Here we go again for the lead. And this time, von der Linde backs out of it, but he's not making it easy for Chaz Mostert. He goes wide, he's on the dirt there for a moment, and that's what Garth Tander was saying. Do you risk what you have when you really don't need to? The team will have been going bonkers there as he was kicking up dirt coming out the chase, Garth.
I've been Kelvin van der Linde's teammate many, many times, and I've watched him drive race cars, and I've sat there with the radio on, listening to him disregarding radio calls. And he did not need to do any of that. Just open up the steering, let Chaz go. You don't need to fight back here. We saw a car crash there today on the outside of exiting the chase. So on board here with Chaz. Chaz, he's got less to lose, so send it. See what you can do. He sent it all right, but he got it stopped nicely. It was a really good job. But Kelvin didn't need to do the crossover and try and come back around the outside. So I think Chaz was
Martin who went off there doing exactly... We're not talking about a rabbit driver, by the way. Maxime Martin went off on pretty much exactly that line coming out of the chase.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ended the race of the number 888 Mercedes.
Chaz
he's going
Chaz
now.
has gone full Chaz.
Bye-bye.
What's the fastest lap at the moment? 2:02.4, set way back on lap number 78. That's going to be under threat here. I'll tell you that right now.
This car said its fastest lap on lap 9.
Yeah.
Some isn't at that point of the day. The energy just ramps up. So Ferrari leads the Meguiar's Bathurst 12-hour with 36 minutes to go. But as far as we can tell, they can't make it to the end. They're going to stop again. The question is when. How late do they leave it?
Oh, you've got to go.
Yeah.
You've got to go till the fuel alarm comes on, because if you do get the intervention of the BMW safety car, the M safety car, then all right, he's going to need quite a lot of it, maybe 3 or 4 laps, 4 or 5 laps, but my goodness me, that could still work in their favour.
What year was it? 2019 that the race stopped short due to a red flag? 18, and it was the WRT Audi at the time that ended up winning the race.
Correct. Yep.
So Arise putting all their eggs in that basket.
Yeah.
I mean,
live by the red flag.
You don't wish a red flag to end the race or anything, but it has happened in the past. There is a precedent.
There was no doubt that the WRT Audi was going to run out of fuel, or they were going to stop again. And the car that was in second that year, which if memory recalls may well have been Lucas Stoll's, they were going to run out of fuel and had to stop again. And the Porsche that ultimately finished third that year were probably going to run out of juice. And the way that race played out, it looked like the car that was running fourth, the Porsche, was probably going to win it. So the example has been set in the past of rolling the dice and just seeing what happens. And I don't pay the bills, so far be it for me to say, why not just try and run the thing out and see what happens? But, gee, sometimes rolling the dice might work here, and it worked for WRT that year.
Yeah.
They got lucky.
So, Chaz Mostert lining up the pass on Kelvin van der Linde. We've seen that done nicely. Gets the job done up the inside. Makes the apex nicely. Just a little bit of over-rotation as he turns in off the dirty part of the track. And this caught my eyes just when we watched it, and that's just Chaz saying to Kelvin, I am now position 1, thank you very much. You are position 2.
He's Tommy Mildener. That's another Tommy Mildener. Is that 3 we've had in this race so far? 0-0-1 on the Lumi rank on the top right-hand side of the screen in the white numbers. That means the pro leader, the overall leader, C. Mostert for Ferrari.
And he will be for the next 6 or 7 laps.
Yeah.
That's all the fuel that he's got.
Yeah. Good point, Shea. But strange things can happen. It's 12 minutes.
Yeah, 6 or 7 laps. I was just doing 12 to 14 minutes. And unfortunately, time remaining 33 and a half. So those numbers do not add up. Another shot of Chaz exploring the limits at the exit of Reed Park.
So Mostert, 3.4 seconds, has to pit again. Just over 30 minutes remain in the 12-hour. .21 seconds first to 6th position. It's got closer. When we sat down and looked at this entry list, and there was some conversation around entry list, we talked about it, probably wanted more cars, sure, but we knew that this would be a super competitive GT3 race. I don't think even I expected it to be this competitive and this wide open. This has been elite level motorsport today by a very, very good field of teams and drivers who have put on a great show, and real old school traditional endurance racing, flat out fuel economy, saving drama. feistiness, it's had it all.
It has had it all, to the point, track position versus fuel economy versus driver time. Some of these teams couldn't double stint their drivers to the end of the race because they were short a minute on driver time. That's how fine the margins are for strategy to get yourself in the game with half an hour to go.
Hello to Jerry Z, says, I'm not sure where my Saturday has gone. We aren't sure where our Sunday's gone, Jerry Z. Somehow, I'm not sure the script writers are done with us yet. Possibly, maybe another couple of curveballs waiting for us. He's calling in from Florida, or watching on from Florida, coming down to the last half an hour, Garth. And it's, I think maybe 8 laps. When Chase at 6, I was looking at that. I think they can do 32. It was on 24. But it's still too short for Chazzy. He's pulled out 4 seconds.
It's going to have to be the safety car of all safety cars for Chaz to save enough fuel to get to the end.
Van der Linde is being caught by Lucas R, Gilles Gounon and Rafa Marciello. They've taken about 5 seconds out of him in the last few laps.
Well, Chaz and Kelvin burnt a heap of time when they were battling for those couple of laps, so Chaz has scurried up the road a little bit on Van der Linde, but you'd have to say that the metronomic pace of the 32, and it's just been at the front of the field, feels like since the first hour, that they have everything under control, but Bathurst is Bathurst, and things are never certain until you cross the line at the end of 12 hours.
The mountain decides. Is it your day? Is it not your day? You can plan, you can scheme, you can even execute, and then something totally bizarre could happen. Good news stories still carry on, by the way, down through the field. The number 44 Audi that was caught up in somebody else's accident, for example. That's the sort of thing that can happen. Spent a lot of time in the pits, but that car's still running. And just by my very quick arithmetic, will have completed enough of its class leaders to be classified and therefore get itself on the Pro-Am podium. And in the classes, the bronze class in 7th position, Hartner Racing. Silver, the Wall Lamborghini in 8th. Pretty decent that they are both in the top 10 overall in the last few minutes.
Sydney Harbour, about the only thing that'd make it better is if it was plonked right next to Mount Panorama, Bathurst. What a part of the world. We're about 2 hours and 45 minutes inland from the capital of New South Wales in Bathurst town, and we're seeing a thrilling conclusion to the Meguiar's Bathurst 12-hour for this year. The maths are simple. Chaz Mostert's thing is going to run out of fuel. He's going to have to pit again. He leads by 4.8 seconds, and he is pressing on as hard as he can to try and find something, anything, that might be able to save them at the end of this race. Kelvin van der Linde sits in 2nd position. As
in the left.
Sister, no,
that's the sister car.
Pro-Am leader.
Yeah, excuse me.
That'll be their final pit stop. Kelvin van der Linde sits in 2nd place, good to go to the end. The South African who has shared today with his brother Sheldon. There's a point I want to make about that in just a second as well, because there's genuine history there. And Augusto Farfus, who did all the heavy lifting stuff in the middle of the race. They have been very, very good. They can go all the way to the end. Big question mark over Lucas Auer in 3rd place in Craft Bamboo Racing. We're pretty certain they have to stop again, and they're involved in a huge arm wrestle with Gilles Gounon behind and Rafa Marciello in 4th and 5th on the road. We think that could be the battle for 2nd and 3rd by the time the checkered flag dropped. Alessio Rivera will jump out of the Pro-Am leading Ferrari and will be replaced by Jackson Evans, a young star who's in supercars, who's come out of Carrera Cup, and will bring that car to the line.
Slight misstep on the right rear of that Pro-Am leader. There was a bit of confusion about who was bringing the tyre, who was getting the tyre. Lauren Heinrich is fueled to the end of the race in 10th position and has just gone through effectively onto the back of the lead lap in Pro-Am in the number 91 Porsche. So that's another little battle we're just going to have to keep our eye on now. The Ben Motorsport Park number 91 car back on the lead lap as Jackson Evans gets going and rolls back out onto the track.
before we get into too much of the intensity of it around how this final half hour plays out, I'll talk about a bit of history at Mount Panorama, and we've touched on the fact that the brothers van der Linde are sharing that BMW, and there's genuine BMW and family history at this place, dating back to the Super Touring Bathurst 1000 in 1997. And that race was won by a BMW Super Tourer driven by Jeff and David Brabham. So that was BMW's last win in the Bathurst 1000. They won the 12-hour twice with Gary Holt's team in the production car era, yet to win in the GT3 era of this race, despite a couple of very strong campaigns. So there's genuine heritage dating back several decades at this place for BMW.
And although BMW is leading the way, we are not 100% on that BMW making it to the checkered flag. The team just reminding Kelvin that he has a fuel number that he needs to hit, and they need to be cognizant of when the end of the race happens, plus 1 lap, to make sure that they actually have enough. So remember, they did a shorter stop with the fuel rig attached. Maybe they're regretting that a little bit right now.
And also remember, the team were telling Kelvin, let Chaz Mostert go, let Chaz Mostert go, and he spent 3 laps not letting Chaz Mostert go. And I can guarantee you, he would not have been hitting his fuel numbers for those 3 laps. So maybe we talked about, just even though they had a big fuel window, only putting enough fuel in to get to the end of the race so the car was lighter. And the team would have done that based on the numbers that they knew they needed to hit for every single lap. So maybe that's why van der Linde has just rolled back a little bit, and it felt like our Gunon and Mucciello were closing up because he had to save more fuel than normal to buy himself that fuel number for later in the race.
It's gone from 18 seconds to 11 seconds. The stopwatch doesn't lie, Craillsy.
The similarities between this race and 2023, we've said it before, are incredible. Almost record green flag run towards the end of the race, and the top 3 just condensed and condensed and condensed as they got to the end. It's spooky how this has been a carbon copy in a way of that race. Mostert trying everything he can. 2:06.3 last time around. They had that traffic.
A lot of traffic in that one.
So we heard 6 or 7 laps. So that was 3 or 4 laps ago. So they're not far away, are they?
We saw a shot of the Arise Racing Ferrari team out in pit lane waiting with new tyres, waiting for Chaz Mostert to arrive. But there they are. So it's imminent that Chaz Mostert will be back in the lane. They're going to give him another set of tyres.
Yeah.
They were not going to have, they'll have to sit still for 80 seconds, but they're not going to have to put a whole heap of fuel back in it. And I wouldn't mind betting that Chaz Mostert might give fastest lap of the race a little nudge.
Yeah.
Just as a bit of consolation prize that they haven't quite got the fuel numbers that they needed to get to the end of this one.
It's on 29 flat out there. They did 32. In the previous stint, but perhaps not going at this speed.
This is quali lap after quali lap, and we've seen that from Chaz from the moment he jumped aboard that number 26 Ferrari. Here's Kelvin van der Linde, the 32 BMW from WRT.
Picking up a little bit of understeer there across the top. Just looked like he was just pushing out a little bit. Don't normally see as much steering lock in there. Could have just burned his front tyres before when he was fighting away. He was offline a lot, certainly.
Yeah, well, traditionally, as the track rubbers here at Bathurst, that you do get more and more rear grip, and now as the shade starts to come over the racetrack, the track temperature starts to come down, so the grip level comes up. So as that grip level's coming up, you're getting more rear grip than front, and then that allows, you know, more rear grip, therefore the front doesn't respond as you would have liked. Here comes Mostert to the lane.
Yeah. Get down to the speed limit. That is much tighter than it looks. I ran through there on Thursday in a Mark 1 Cortina GT 500, which is about 3/4 of the width of one of these GT3 cars, and it looked really tight in that car. That is not an easy thing to do at speed, Garth.
Not quite the downforce levels either, by the way.
Well, it had me and Brad Owens in it, so it was all right. It was sticking to the ground.
So Mostert on his mark. Connect the fuel rig. It's going to be an 80-second. He wants a tear off. Give me a tear off, please. I'm not sure if they'll be able to get that done. Depends on how this sequence goes. The car controller can't lean over and do it. There's only certain prescribed tasks that each of these crew are able to do.
Matt Campbell rises to 5th position Now just 17 seconds off the lead with Mostert peeling into the lane. And a 5-1 last time around for Campbell. So they're on the same number as the Ferrari. So they pitted at the same time, those two cars. So you would expect the Porsche to be in the lane within a lap or two with 22 minutes to go of the race. Unless they're going to roll the dice and just see what happens.
A lap or two is a long way short with 22 minutes left in this one. So, normal service has resumed. The 32 WRT BMW returns to the top step.
2 more laps potentially for the Porsche. Watch it pit this lap now. We've just said that, but...
I mean, if you know you're coming, you don't have to stretch it.
Yeah. Yeah. So Kelvin van der Linde's gap now under 12 seconds. 11.8 seconds, and he's...
Marciello.
This is a spicy run down Conrad.
Marciello getting into the back of the Sun Energy 1 car. Remember, this could be for second and third in the race. This is important. He goes to the outside of the kink. This is enormous. Can he get it done? And he gets it. The BMW moves forward. Spicy, spicy stuff in the closing stages of this one. And Lello has driven 46 up to what we think could be P2 in the race.
It wasn't quite the pass on the grass, but it was the push in the dust, wasn't it, as he was going through the kink. That was extraordinary. Elfoyle's slick move for sure there, and that might be the second step on the box. And a 1-2 for BMW and for WRT, but one thing we know, gentlemen, is that Jules Gounon is not going to let that lie.
And he's got a good run out of turn 1 as well, so the Mercedes with its bottom end grunt and torque drags it up the hill. A little bit of aero assist on the run up to turn 2, but I think from that point, Raffaele has the position locked away, and he'll go after Lucas Auer now, and the BMW does have a straight line speed advantage, so see what he can do. We think Craft Bamboo are limping this car home. They're going to run out of fuel.
So it was the lap traffic actually in front of Auer that then held the whole lot up, and then Marciello got into the rear of Gounon. So that's why these two were racing hard down Conrad. They chased each other all the way across the width of the track. Gounon wasn't letting him through there as they got past the lap traffic. Then they went to the other side. So Marciello said, fine, I'll just go to the other, back to the outside again. Drops 2 wheels on the dirt to the turn into the kink at Conrad. I've never seen that one before. And ultimately gets the job done. Look at this. 2 wheels in the dirt at 280k an hour around the outside of AMG's best GT3 driver.
It was literally the pass on the grass. I thought it was just the dust from further down, but my goodness me. Well, stop the phone calls. Stop writing in. That is the Elfoyle slick pass in the race right there. And that meant something to everybody in there, including Bonson Boss in the white shirt in the pit lane box.
Wow. They know what that pass means.
Yes, exactly.
They know what it means. It's not a pass for third.
No,
that's a pass for that's a pass for 1-2.
It's that's the Elfoyle slick move of the race. Unless there's one for the lead to come, that was the pass of today.
I mean, the pace. It's the fastest part of the track, guys. And he's got 2 Pirellis off the racing circuit surface there. It's just extraordinary. How confident have you got to be if you're Raffaele Marciello to be able to do that, and the car is going to do what you want it to do, Garth?
You can see they were playing chicken effectively down Conrad, and Gounon was trying to second guess what Marciello was up to. Marciello's just like, well, I'm keeping it pinned. I am keeping it pinned this time.
It's the KTM on the brakes. I don't want any part of this.
What are these guys doing?
That was Glenn Wood.
You and I know Glenn Wood extremely well. He would have been laughing his head off at that.
It's like, hang on, I'm within 18 minutes of getting to the checkered flag. I want no part of that in front of me whatsoever. That was hilarious.
So what of Craft Bamboo? What of Craft Bamboo? Remember, they went a couple of laps longer than Chaz Mostert. Did they do just enough? The pace that Lucas Auer's got at the moment. Amazed if they get that thing home on fuel, because the Merc today, 1 hour and 10 minutes has been maximum for those cars.
4 laps left for that car.
I reckon it takes them to
See, no, they've done 34. Sorry, no, that car has done 34. And he has still been saving, so possibly 6 laps. But that's still not going to be enough.
6 laps is roughly 12 minutes of running, 17 minutes left on the clock. So they're going to run it all the way out of fuel. Well, right to the bottom of the
2
tank.
laps to go.
Yeah, and if, hey, look, you do get a late race safety car. 2 laps is doable under safety car. So,
can I just mention, I'm going to say this. I know we've done our goals, but Chaz Mostert, and he was one of my considerations for this. Regardless of where that car finishes, surely what we have seen from him today when he's been in that car at both ends of this race marks him out as well in that conversation for the greatest of all time. What he does with a GT3 car around here is special.
It certainly is. And it's, certainly anything he drives, whether it's GT3 car, supercar, production car, he'll get everything out of it and leave nothing. You will not die wondering, will Chaz Mostert?
Into the pit lane comes Absolute Racing. So like the Ferrari, they got a couple of extra laps out of the 911 GT3R, but ultimately they're 16 minutes short plus a lap or 2. And Matt Campbell will have to sit there while they fill the tank on the 911, and then 80 seconds will disappear.
Interesting.
Traditionally fairly kind on its rubber.
That is true.
At this venue.
Absolute Racing back at the race.
Potentially don't want to have to deal with the tyre warm-up.
Yeah.
So, just wondering whether it was a track position race with Chaz Mostert, but that's just answered that question as Chaz he flies through turn 1.
That's an undercut of all undercuts there. He's been going very, very quickly.
You know what? They're not going to lose 6th position, but nobody comes here to be 6th.
And even if Lucas Hour close, they might be 5th. Lucas
Curious
Hour.
as to why you wouldn't just put tyres on it just in case anything goes down and you need the grip.
It's the old NASCAR move, isn't it?
You're not coming back net. Well, you had 80 seconds, you had 45 seconds of sit-still time. It's not like they were under pressure from a time perspective.
Totally.
So, anyway,
right, what's happening at the front of the field? Well, the gap has stabilised. Kelvin van der Linde, it went down from 18 and a bit seconds to just under 12. It's 11 and a half now. He's still losing. He lost about 3/10 last time around. 11.3670, actually, to be totally pedantic. So Lucas Hart is still there, doing 203s.
Yeah. Fastest car of the top 4 on the last lap was Lucas Hour. The guy that's meant to be saving the most fuel is going the fastest. So also the lightest car at this point of the race.
That's a good point. 4 more laps for Lucas Hart to equal his best, that car's best fuel run of 34 laps around Mount Panorama. The drama is not yet over. BMW chasing a 1-2. WRT looking for a second victory with a second manufacturer. Remember, the last time they won here was pre their BMW days, and it will continue their winning streak in 2025. Every endurance race that they have ended with a BMW M3 GT3 and 4 GT3, they have won. The new car doing the business in the 24 at Dubai, the 6 hours of Abu Dhabi. I do still count 6 hours as an endurance race, even though it felt like a bit of a sprint after the 24 the weekend before. They weren't at Daytona, but the BMWs were very competitive there for Paul Miller Racing. Didn't get the result perhaps that they should have had in terms of their performance out there. But here we are today, and they have had the pace when they've needed. They've had the reliability to this point, says Hindhaugh. Really potentially putting the mockers on them, but they've had the economy and the fuel mileage as well.
Just
what are you counting up on your fingers?
I'm trying to work out what Craft Bamboo are doing, and I think they're going to run the thing until...
I think they're going to run it dry.
Bone dry.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any fuel saving going on anymore.
And it's just gone 8:30 a.m. in the morning in South Africa. And somewhere there, Sean van der Linde is watching a moment potentially for his two boys to win. Wow, one of the biggest things for that family, surely. They have raced and won together as co-drivers in endurance racing. But this would be something else, and potentially a 1-2 result for Team WRT as well. Why did Chaz Mostert put new tyres on the Arise Ferrari? Well, there's no bonus points or money or anything up for grabs for fastest lap, but he's going to get it anyway. Pretty decent camper as well. In fact, he's middle sectors. That is full qualifying spec. This could be somewhere in the ones.
What's the lap record to 1.5? Set for Stone Van Gisbergen back in 2016.
Oh, 2-2.
He's just warming up.
Yeah, he's getting another lap out of that too.
Yeah, no, his last sector was a bit off the pace, so there's more potential for Chaz. We did say that they whack a new set of tyres on, only just enough fuel for that Ferrari to get home and let Chaz off the leash and have a crack. And that's what he's up to back in 5th. He's a minute, 8 seconds off the lead of the race.
To start your Sunday morning in Joburg, watching a race on the other side of the world as your two sons and Augusto Farfus, who was awesome, are so close to this. 10 minutes and 45 seconds remain in this race, and we wait and watch and see if the Craft Bamboo Mercedes AMG can get home in second place, or if they need to put fuel in, or if they just run the thing out. And then will it deliver a 1-2 result for BMW? And gee, haven't there been some famous 1-2s at this place? We've been talking about 77 in the Fords and 84 in the Commodores. And 888 will tell you they've had some as well in the supercar area. There was one in the Vodafone Commodores that's pretty memorable.
It's 2010. Been one in the GT3 era.
So Audi Sport Team Jost, first year of the GT era, finished 1 and 2. And it was the Internationals versus the Aussies in those cars at the time. That's the only 1-2 result in the history of this race as a GT race. Never been done outside of that. Another famous European team that's famous for one brand.
Absolutely, yeah. Synonymous with Audi, weren't they, TVOs? Jules Gounon hasn't given up on this one just yet. When I last looked at the timing screen, and it's like, what's that gap? Oh, it's 0.7 of a second. Marciello back to Gounon. So you only got to get a little bit of lap traffic at the wrong time for Marciello as I speak. And Gounon has to deal with it too as they make their way through Reed Park. So Marciello's got away with that one and up the road a little bit.
10.5 seconds Van der Linde to Auer. 12.6 seconds Van der Linde to Marciello, and then a couple of car lengths further to Jules Gounon.
One more lap after this one for Lucas Auer, I reckon, as he completes 33 laps this time around.
Imagine getting 6 minutes to the finish of the race.
Well, even
having to pit.
Even now, like, it's in single digits, the clock on the countdown, like under 10 minutes.
It has been a race of these fine margins. We've had people not being able to get into the car by a minute either way. Drive times and these more open regulations have really brought the strategy aspect of this race to life this year.
It certainly has.
So Pro 136, 7th position. Well, let's just touch on the classes before we get too engrossed in this finishing story at an outright level. The top 3 cars come by 13 seconds, by the way, still with 8 minutes to go. So Heart of Racing, Ross Gunner's behind the wheel of that Mercedes AMG. They're 7th outright and they lead the bronze class by a heady margin, so they just need to bring that home. Arise Racing, well, they should still win a class because Jackson Evans continues to lead the way in Pro-Am, and they've got a decent margin over Lauren Heinrich. They've got a lap up their sleeve over the Bend Porsche, and they're 8th outright. So what a solid return it is. I mean, it's taken WRT 3 years with the BMW to get in this position. You say anything other than that until they get the checkered flag, but it's taken them some time to get to that point. This is Arise's first crack with the Ferrari 296, and it's been an utterly commendable one. and then looking to defend their silver class victory, Wall Racing, their 9th outright. Tony D'Alberto behind the wheel, and they've got good margin over James and Theo Conduras to the matter of several laps. So they're looking to defend their win. And in GT4, the Josh Buckhead Method Motorsport car. So Chazzy may still well get a trophy as team boss for the GT4 class. And yes, Glenwood continues to circulate in the Vantage Racing KTM. They're 7 minutes plus a lap or two away from finally getting that thing to the finish and potentially never having to worry about it again.
Crail, we said we were not going to talk about that car.
No, you have to, don't you, when you're running through the classes.
Light until after the race. So cold status for the KTM here this year. Certainly hope that car can get its way all the way to the line after 12 hours. We took a shot of Sheldon van der Linde earlier on that lap, watching his brother Kelvin leading in the 32 BMW M4. And just starting to tighten up a little bit was Sheldon, just a little bit nervous as Auer finally comes to pit lane with 6 minutes and 20 seconds left on the clock. And that now promotes Raffaello Marciello to second. It's a 1-2 for BMW. And Jules Gounon elevates to third for 75 Express.
Just trying to chase down a bit of information on the two chassis that are here for Team WRT, and I'm indebted to Juicy RP6 for providing me with a photograph that shows a WEC scrutineering sticker, which I think makes these 2024 cars the World Championship cars from last year, which, if it's right, that means they were the last two finishing cars at Bahrain in 26th and 27th position at the end of last season.
So what about Sun Energy One Racing? Third place at the moment, still only 1.4 seconds. Jules Gounon to Rafa Marciello, former Mercedes teammate, now a BMW driver. And that car that they're racing was a car that Kenny literally craned out of his museum in upstate New York and put on the racetrack, and it won. And then last year it finished second. And this year they're potentially on to finish third, and that is all that car has ever done. It is a Bathurst special. And maybe on the cool-down lap, he just goes and parks the thing at his place on Conrod Straight, puts it in the shed, shuts the door, job done.
I love the way in this part of the world you talk about your sheds. Now, a shed where we come from is somewhere that's probably big enough to stick your lawnmower in, like a little push-around lawnmower. When you talk about sheds, you are talking about a major commitment to construction.
We have big lawnmowers in the shed.
You have big lawns, in fairness. So, okay, no, I walked into that one. Absolutely hit me in the forehead with that one. God.
This is still second and third place, and Jules Gounon will not give up until that checkered flag drops.
How much is that damage hurting him in a straight line? It cannot be good for these guys.
The Megs haven't been particularly special in a straight line all weekend, so I don't know what the difference is. I mean, it's certainly not helping.
4 minutes to go.
This is massive. It's massive for BMW, a brand, remember, with a remarkable heritage in motorsport in this part of the world.
Oh, yes.
Dating back, we were talking about the Group C era of touring car racing, and Alan Grice in the JPS Group C car, and then Jim Richards. And then in the Group A era, the 85 and 87 Australian Touring Car Championship wins. Never quite cracked it for a Bathurst win in the Group A era, but then Super Touring was their manner, wasn't it? And the 320s there run by Paul Morris and the Diet Coke team came along and won the Australian Super Touring Championship. Paul Morris and Craig Baird could have won the great race, got pinged, so their teammates won. They were technically 1-2 across the line that day as well, and David and Jeff Brabham won the Bathurst 1000. And then when this race returned in 2007, it was a BMW 335i owned by Gary Holt that was part of that process, and they won then, and they won again in 2010. And then in the GT3 era, they've been so fast, they've been on pole position here with Chaz Mostert. We've seen BMW Team Schnitzer, the great Charlie Lamb's outfit represented here in BMW M colours. And now WRT, there's been a brand new road car model launched to the Australian public. There's been journalists, There's been Valentino Rossi. The story is amazing. And they are a couple of laps around from winning the Meguiar's Bathurst 12-hour and doing it with a 1-2.
What's the time here? 42. He's across the line. 2 laps remain, I reckon, Craillsy. It just didn't click over to 5:43.
Valentino watching on, and that was a great summation of BMW's motorsport involvement here in Australia, Rich. And for those of you at home didn't get the opportunity, we were watching Rich give us all those stats. He gave us all of that without one note, not looking at a computer screen. That was all off the top of his head.
Yep.
And there's one man that is so incredibly passionate about that race. He's sitting to our right now, John Hindhaugh, and that is Richard Crail. He lives for this weekend, and he thoroughly deserves a massive pat on the back. Does our Crail. So
greatest of all time.
He's a great broadcaster, and he just gave us every single moment in BMW motorsport here in Australia without one single crib note. Well done, mate. Congratulations.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you. Follow that. A minute and 10 to go. Let's talk car racing. Still 11 seconds. It's less than a second between Marciello and Gounon. So Jules has not given up. And he has put up that heroic drive that he always delivers at the end of the race. And they're going to fall short again. But what a track record they've put together. Kenny Habul, no one thought it would work entering the pro class as a pro driver. And in 4 years, they're going to come away with 2 wins, a second and potentially a third, unless he does something on the final laps of this race.
Surely they'll have been on the phone with the 2 BMW drivers and say, right, bring it home from here. This is going to be a 33-lap stint for the leading car of Kelvin van der Linde, and we think he got behind on his numbers at some stage there when he was defending against Chazzy Mostert.
Well, we've seen plenty of 34-lap stints from the BMW. Yeah. I think that's where that 1 lap disappeared. Yeah. He was racing Chaz when he didn't really need to, but ultimately it turned out okay.
Final lap of the 2025 Meguiar's Bathurst 12 hours. That has been an extraordinary race in so many different ways. Oh yeah, we're all going to be nice and sensible at the start, and it was like lighting a firework and running away. It exploded into life 24 hours ago with 3 wide up Mountain Straight. The BMW team, everybody in the BMW team are hopping from foot to foot like expectant fathers in the waiting room.
What must it be like to be the van der Linde family right now? Oh. This is extraordinary. It's so rare in motorsport that families produce one great racing car driver, let alone 2.
Listen to the crowd. That is genuine, no piped effect here. This is a second best ever crowd at Mount Panorama. The corner work is getting in on it as well. They know they've seen something special. It's an audience here from the volunteers and everyone who's come to camp and come to watch that knows motor racing and knows what they have been watching is something quite extraordinary in terms of the brands, the race, the battles, and the scrap for the podium positions. Winning this race is one thing, Richard Crail. Bringing us home 1-2. BMW M4 GT3, the ultimate driving machine, the ultimate winning machine in 2025.
They tried in 23, they got close in 24. Third time the charm for BMW Team WRT. And Augusto Farfus and Kelvin van der Linde and Sheldon van der Linde, his brother, win the Meguiar's Bathurst 12-hour. And it's a 1-2 for BMW, with Raffaele Marciello bringing home the car he shares with Charles Vietz and Valentino Rossi on the podium on the mountain. And third place goes to Kenny Habul, Lucas Doles and Jules Gounon.
75 Express getting on the podium again with that car. Never not been on the podium in the 3 races it's been here. Right, where is the KTM? Wherever you are on the circuit, watch out for the orange and black KTM. I want you on your feet. I know you can hear. It's gone through. It's gone through. The KTM has finished Meguiar's Bathurst 12 hours.
I reckon the BMW's out of fuel. It was walking up Mountain Straight.
He's got to turn direct left, hasn't he?
There's a very good chance that car has run out of fuel. Across the line, Chaz Mostert fourth for Ferrari.
I think what he was doing, Rich, as Chaz Mostert comes over the line, was getting as much grass, rocks, rubble as he could on the tyres. 1, to make sure the car's nice and high for the ride height test, and 2, it's a little bit heavier than it should be, just to make sure it makes minimum weight as well, because there won't be a lot of fuel in the fuel tank of that 32 BMW.
That's less dramatic than running out of fuel on the cooldown lap, but we'll take it. Across the line, Lucas Auer, Craft Bamboo have fought so hard today, and it's hard to say rewarded with a 5th place, but man, they were 3rd with 15 minutes to go. They had a real shot. They were 2nd with 15 minutes to go. Lamborghini wins the silver class. Back-to-back wins for Adrian Dietz and the Wall Racing team, who put their heart and soul into this
finish
race
as well, Rich.
Yeah, absolutely. Heart of Racing, 2nd time for them here. They're a winner now in their class. And Arise Racing GT will win in Pro-Am with Jackson Evans crossing the line.
Through the back of the paddock to bring that car into victory lane at the head entrance to the Elf-Oil pit lane, and into that Parc Fermé area. What a feeling that has got to be. Quite extraordinary today. 3 races entered for Team WRT with BMW for endurance this year, and 4 victories, 3 overall and a class victory. That's a decent start to a motor racing year.
Anyone would take that. And Kelvin van der Linde, who only scored his first podium here last year, whips the crowd into a BMW frenzy. And for the 2nd time in history, brothers have won a major endurance race at Mount Panorama. And the van der Lindes and the Brabhams, all the names to share a heritage with.
Wow.
And Augusto Farfus has been part of BMW's program for so long. He's been such a workhorse performer for this team and this brand.
I'm impressed with the structural rigidity. They're all standing on the front bar of the cage, I think, underneath that. That is a very happy trio of drivers. I couldn't be happier for the van der Lindes, but particularly for Farfus. He's been a BMW guy for so long. He committed to them when when it looked like his career might not go much further. And Vincent Voss, the man at the head of the Belgian team, who eats, sleeps, breathes motor racing. Good driver in his day as well. Remember him in the Vipers back in the day. Shea Adam is down there ready to get some reaction down in the Elf-Oil pit lane.
Race winner, Kelvin van der Linde. It's got a nice ring to it for the Meguiar's 12-hour. What emotion comes out of this man after finishing that race. Kelvin, you said earlier, I only interview you at bad times. I think we've changed that. It doesn't get better than this, does it?
I mean, this drink tastes sweet after that one. Honestly, it was the hardest 2 hours of my life. The whole race, fuel saving, it's sometimes harder than pushing flat out, because you know you can't really do the pace the guys behind are doing, and especially when Chaz was coming, the guys were giving me numbers to hit, and I knew it was going to be tight. But wow, I'm so proud of everyone. I'm first of all very proud to be here with this guy.
This guy's a legend.
I'm second of all very proud to be very here with Augusto. As a guy I watch in touring cars, and I was on the TV as a young kid at home, and now to win a race together. Very proud. So thank you both boys. Thank you.
All right, I want to ask Augusto, you're now a winner of Bathurst. What does this feel like?
Wow, we came a few years, many years, been so close, so far. And I have to say this year we won not having the fast car, but we execute a perfect race. Shadow Kelvin, they did an incredible job. So yeah, it's an incredible day today.
Sheldon, to win this race with your brother, your emotions right now?
I have to say it's not real yet, and simply this is the best execution I've seen from WRT in years. I think we were flawless from the get-go in the morning. No mistakes from Augusto. My brother did an epic job as well for his second race in BMW, so I have no words. I'm super happy. I've been wanting to win this race for the last 3 years. We never really had the pace. Neither did we today, to be fair. That was all, yeah, massive credit to the guys at WRT for putting a massive strategy together. We stayed ahead the whole race, and yeah, feels amazing.
That's a 12 hours, eh, Craillsy?
Wow, Shay. Couldn't have summed it up better.
And by the way, on the pace, I think their fastest lap of that winning number 32 BMW was only about the 6th or 7th fastest lap of the GT3 race. So you might think that they were sort of piling it on there. That's what the stopwatch said.
One of the great 1-2s in Bathurst history, and a win for WRT. They're second in the race, and just the second ever 1-2 in the history of the 12-hour. A fourth podium in 4 years for Kenny and 75 Express and Jules and Luca. The Ferrari home next. What a great debut it is for that car, and then Craft Bamboo. And the Porsche in 6th place. Class winners, you can see as well, go the way of Heart of Racing. So Ross Gunn at the end there with Ian James and Zachary Robichon home in 7th outright. Pro-Am goes the way of Jackson Evans and the team at Arise Racing GT, and here are other class winners. So well done, Will Racing, who go back-to-back and defend their win last year. Adrian Dietz, Grant Denyer, Tony D'Alberto, and the newbie Brendan Leach, who'll get to stand on the Bathurst podium. Method Motorsports survived, car 24 for all the challenges, and it was Josh Buchan called in at the last minute who got the drive and got the win. And the KTM made it to the finish.
The curse is broken.
After years of trials and tribulation. Wow, David Crampton's heartache has turned into joy with an invitational class win and 15th place outright. You would take that. But the story today, tonight, and I dare say for the rest of the week, will be what BMW have achieved this weekend, and WRT in particular, with an incredible 1-2 result. Right, time to celebrate. This is going to be big, Chad. Let's celebrate the podium.
Too right, Rich. We are ready for the 2025 Meguiar's Bathurst 12-hour outright podium. What an incredible day it has been here at Mount Panorama. We're going to start with our third place team here today, driving the Mercedes. It's 75 Express, including our drivers, Jules Gounon, Lucas Stoles, and Kenny Habal. And presenting our third place trophies today, Shane Rudzes from the Bathurst 12-hour event director. Presenting the medals for the Intercontinental GT Challenge, series manager Abby Hay. And time to bring out our second place drivers today. The number 46 Team WRT entry of Raffaele Marciello, Charles Verts, and Valentino Rossi. Here comes the Bathurst Mayor, Robert Taylor, with our trophies. And let's bring out the medals for second place. And now, Bathurst, it's time to get noisy for your winning team, WRT number 32 BMW of Augusto Farfus, Sheldon van der Linde, and Kelvin van der Linde. With our winning trophies and our Borzell winners watches, Bruce Morrison from Meguiar's. And to present the Australian Tourist Trophy, Motorsport Australia CEO Sunil Vora. what a day it has been at Mount Panorama and Bathurst. It's just about time now to celebrate here at Mount Panorama, the Meguiar's Bathurst 12-hour.
Shay, Adam, the excitement started within the first 100 metres of 12 hours of racing, and 12 hours later, there was just as much excitement at the end.
I wasn't sure if the BMW was going to make it. They were really nervous about Kelvin potentially running out of fuel. He did have enough to do it, and ultimately, we have new winners at the mountain.
Bathurst never fails to deliver. To have a pair of brothers standing on the top step of the podium, a 1-2 for BMW, this was a special one.
It's such a great race, so many feel-good stories, not just in the overall category, but that's where all the attention will be. And the people who made it to the podium, let's not forget Valentino Rossi, first podium finish in this endurance race. What a day.
An epic day of racing again at the mountain. Shay, thank you very much for joining us this year. On behalf of John Hindhaugh, Chad Nailon, Richard Crail, I'm Gar Tanner, and the entire broadcast team, thanks for joining us for 12 hours of epic racing at Mount Panorama. We're already counting down for next year's Bathurst 12 hour.
Third time the charm for BMW Team WRT.
I'm glad I'm not doing that here. Bless them. I'm glad they went down there with the last interviews with the other guys. It's just a classic.
Cool, eh?
Little. Stand on the podium, get a photo. Oh, okay. You got that script?
Yeah, BMW 1, 2, and then
Made it.
Well done. I guess you're not going to tomorrow. Well done, Manny. Congratulations. Congratulations. Well done. Well done. Well done. Like a brewery. Okay. Alright, come. James Bath him up. Hey Chad, just build up second spot, eh? Yeah, we're right. Is there another one? One more? Yeah, you go. You go straight. What number is it? You need 11, yeah? That's 4, 4, and 3.